Hello, 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 welcome, 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 welcome to Sunday. It's Sunday, yes, Sunday. Coffee. Welcome one and all to Warhammer Sunday. As always, your regular dose, weekly dose of Warhammer goodness, as in me talking for 3 hours non-stop and doing a little tiny bit of work. Welcome to everyone. It is windy and rainy outside, but also brilliantly sunshiny, so I don't quite know what the weather's doing. But if you've not seen one of these before, this is my weekend time when I do my Warhammer stuff, and of a Sunday I sort of spend a couple of 3 hours doing bits and bobs, and I share it with you guys. I hang out with you guys and have a good time. I figure I'm sitting here doing this stuff anyway, I may as well hang out with you lot. So welcome, welcome. Welcome to everybody. I don't really know what I'm talking about now, I'm just gibbering already. I've only been going 2 minutes. If you've never seen one of these before, don't forget, of course, if you want to ask me, I do depend on your questions and comments in the chat. There is a live chat, you can see it here. But if you actually want to join, I assume, by the way, you can all hear me and see me okay. Do let me know, as always. There is a live chat right here, but this is just the chat you can see. If you want to join in the typey chat, because I depend on your questions and comments to give me things to talk about, then all you need to do is hit the little YouTube icon, which is down here somewhere at the bottom of the screen, bottom of the video player, and that will transport you magically to the YouTube page where you can join in the typey live chat. And it's worth it because there's a lot of good people in live chat. It's great fun, and they're also giving away some stickers later on. You need to be in chat for that. Don't forget, as always, we are still doing the stream boss battle, which is up here. You can see I've tidied up this screen a lot. I've got rid of the counter and stuff at the top. It was just too much noise going on. Tidy things up. Yes, we've got the stream boss battle still ongoing. Aviad Madar is still the current stream boss. Basically, he is the stream boss because he won last time, and whoever becomes the stream boss wins 200 to 300 quid worth of Warhammer stuff of their choice. Aviad's the first one. He won 280 quid worth of stuff, and he chose a load of kill team games and figures and bits and bobs and other things. If you want to take part in the stream boss battle and have a chance of winning all those goodies, you just need to simply either subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. That'll take a little bit of Aviad's health off. You can do a super chat in the chat. There's a little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window down here. This is the chat window. I don't mean on my iPad, I mean down there. Hit the little dollar symbol in the chat window. That'll put a little bit of his health off as well. Or you can do a tip through the tip jar, which is streamlabs.com/model making guru. And the more you put through as a tip, or the more you put through as a super chat, the more of his health you take off. And whoever gets him to 0 becomes a stream boss and also wins 200 to 300 quid worth of stuff of their choice. Yes. So yes, we'll be carrying on with my Chimera this week. Having some fun with this. I did do a little bit of work, as you can no doubt tell. I did do some work off camera last week, so I'll go over that in a minute. If you are unable to access the live chat, don't forget, of course, because I still want to hear from you, you can mail me. My email address is, where's the camera? Here. It's there, fox@modelmakingguru.com. Just pop me an email with questions, comments, or anything you want to do. And yes, we'll have a good time. Right, so a swig of coffee. Nom. I really should have like a set script for starting these things, because I always just kind of explode a bit and just put all the words out in 2 minutes. It's a bit much, really. So yes, carrying on with the Chimera this week. As I say, you can see I've done a few bits. When we finished last week, I carried on. And what I did was I painted, and I shall zoom in a little bit so you can see with all your eyeballs. Fill your eye holes with these. I first of all painted the ammo box and the ammo for the big 50, I think I said 50 cal then, the stubber, the heavy stubber on the top of the turret. So that's got a bit of stuff going on now. I also painted the gold trim. And you can see on there I painted some of the gold trim as well. I did the casing for the bolter here and for the heavy bolter on the front. I can't remember what colour I used. I think it was Elysian green. I just basically painted it Elysian green, gave it a wash of Agrax, and then went over it again with a little bit of a dry brush. And the interior I did with, I think it was Skarsnik green for the interior of the hatch here, and also the little bit of sort of interior stuff you can see inside the turret. With Skarsnik green, wash of Agrax, and then another dry brush of Skarsnik green. And what else did I do? I, of course, painted my Xeon... Oh, I forgot to explain that. If for anybody who's not watched one of these before, I am working on my army, and my army is a Principality of Xeon themed Imperial Army. Principality of Xeon from the Mobile Suit Gundam universe. All my figures and vehicles are going to be Xeon themed. The bog standard infantry, the Astra Militarum rank and file, they're going to just be based on standard Xeon infantry, so shades of greens and yellow greens and things like that. So the vehicles will be different green colours. I've not fully decided on the figures yet, but they're probably going to be like yellowy greens and khaki colours. I'm going to have 3 Imperial Knights. I've built 1 so far. 1 is going to be a Zaku, and I've done that one. It's all battered and weathered and beaten, all green shades. I'm going to have 1 Imperial Knight like a Goof, all shades of blue, and 1 Imperial Knight done up like Char's Zaku. We've also got some Tempestus Scions, who I'm in the middle of painting at the moment, to be in red and white like Char's outfit, because they're going to have like white gloves and boots and red outfit. It might not work. I'm not happy with it, but you never know. I can always strip them if I need to. And lots of other bits and bobs I haven't decided on yet. But this is the first actual full Xeon vehicle, as in not an Imperial Knight that I've painted. Testing out the colour scheme. And as you can see, of course, it's got the Xeon red and white striping down the front here. I was debating where to put this stripe, because I wanted it to go here, or maybe on, you know, on the side, or maybe down here where this Aquila is, because I like having the Aquila in the middle of the stripes. But I kind of decided, the problem is, because I've done all the pre-shading, or post-shading, on the green, if I did a stripe here and had to go back and touch in the edges, because you kind of paint it and you touch bits in, I would have ended up messing up the green here, and it's so sort of edges and sticky out bits, it would have been a nightmare. If it was just a flat green colour and I'm painting the straps on, I would have done it. But because I can't afford to mess up the green, because I can't touch it back in again, I didn't want to do it on the side, so I put it here instead, and it works quite nicely. I'm going to, I think, do another stripe on here as well, or at least just a red stripe to put a Xeon symbol there. What else did I do? I finished, I kind of worked on the missile a bit more. I'm really not happy with how it came out, but it'll do. I kind of built it up with the, what did I use? The Ulthuan, was it Ulthuan Grey? It was, I can't remember now. I think I'd got some white scar in the end and kind of did some very thin glazes of white scar over the Ulthuan Grey just to bring it up to an almost white. I say I'm not happy with it. It's not, I don't like it, but it'll do. I'll just avoid doing missiles next time. Oh wait, I've put one on my Sentinel. Oh, that one will be green. And I painted all the Aquilas, so you've only got that one there, one on the side, and that little Death's Head skull on the bolter there. They were painted. What's left to do today? I need to. My brain has just completely stopped. Hello, brain. Come in, brain. Calling brain. I need to paint the little scroll work that's under the Aquila on both sides. I need to. I'm not going to paint any lenses in yet, like the lens on the Searchlight or the lenses, targeting lenses on there. I'm going to leave them till like almost very last, because I need them to be bright and bold and sticking out, standing out. So I don't want to be doing that when I'm putting varnishes on top. So we'll leave them to the very end. I've obviously not painted the dude, but he'll be painted once I've figured out the actual colour schemes for my Imperial Guard. I might have things like the Imperial Guard as all shades of green like Xeon Infantry, but then have, for example, the tank drivers maybe in the TriStar Aces outfit colours. So something like that. I don't know yet. So what we can do today? Today, as I say, what I can do is I can paint the scroll work. I can maybe do a little red stripe here, because I've got to have a Xeon symbol on there. And I think then, I have actually realised that my bolter is not actually straight. It's a bit wonky. Doesn't quite sit straight. Oh well, never mind. Then I've got to, once I've done those, I think then I can actually start on some chipping, some paint chipping, because once I've done that, I just need to basically, oh no, I need to do some decals. Before that, I need to do the water slide decals. So what I might be able to do today is actually start on some water slide decals. Oh, I haven't got my little thing ready or anything. Excellent. Yes. So, I shall have a swig of coffee, I'll have a quick look at chat, and then I'll crack on. With only those 2 little things to paint, I shall get them done ASAP. ASAP. And then we'll do some decals. Yes. Right, so let's have a look. Because obviously weathering is going to go on top of the markings. So do the decals, then we do the chipping, then we do the weathering. So obviously on my chat here, on this iPad, Pascal Leaverse was first. Oh, I need to zoom out, don't I? Hang on, let me zoom out again. On my iPad here, Pascal Leaverse was first in, but I know he wasn't because it just doesn't do from right from the start. But yes, Pascal, I think Nim was the first in today, might be wrong. So welcome Pascal, and Nim is in. Welcome Nim. They're talking about Borrel Newt or Borrel Newtia. I love Borrow Newt. I got sent some, and they're really nice. They're just delicious. It's a snack food. He says, Pascal says it's a snack food made up of a nut, usually a peanut covered in flavoured crispy outer shell, often served at parties, a bit like beer nuts. But they're kind of, the ones I had were quite spicy. I just had a bag this big from TK and I ate them all with my face. I could eat Borrow Newt all day. Muse is in, said, I'm actually early for once. I know, I noticed that. You were in before we even started. So welcome, Muse. Who else have we got? Raging Bassist. I have a lovely cup of tea because I'm not in work because I get paid hourly and it's dead on Sundays. That sounds awesome to me. I used to have a job many years ago where we used to work nights and we worked through the night, but there was nothing actually going on. So what we actually did was, or what I actually did was, this is back in the early 2000s, I used to take my Xbox in, plug it into, we had a little telly on a trolley, so I used to plug it in and play Halo all night. Fantastic stuff. Jamie Bone pops in and says, hi everyone, I won't be in the stream long today as I have cricket practice. Okay, well thanks for popping in anyway, Jamie. Enjoy your cricket practice. Raging Bassist is in. Welcome, Raging Bassist. Asks, did I have a look on Goblin Games website? Yes, I'm more than aware of Goblin Games anyway. I had a look through. I'm not in the situation I'm going to be buying anything at the moment, but yes, I had a look through because I've ordered from them before. They're worth checking out, actually, Goblin Games. I'm assuming, somebody correct me, it's probably goblingames.co.uk, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. They stock a lot of stuff, including Warhammer, and they're actually quite cheap. They actually do some really good prices, so give them a check out. But yes, I did have a look, Raging Bassist, but I'm not actually buying anything at the minute. And I've got too much of a stash. I need to clear my stash up, basically. I'm actually so far behind with builds at the minute. I'm at least 9 or 10 issues behind on Warhammer Conquest. My little U-boat is coming along nicely, but I need to get it done and dusted. I'll see if I can get it out for you. Hang on. My little U-boat is coming along nicely. It's now got the, you can't really see it on camera, but it's got the antenna wire on it, dangly bits. So that's coming on. That needs to get done ASAP because I need to get that finished so I can start on George's Master Grade Cesabi. And then I need to get the Cesabi done ASAP because I need to start on the big Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon. And then I need to get that done ASAP because I've got a million other things I need to build. I need to get some more Gunplers going on. So, yes, I'm very backlogged at the minute. It's quite stressful. Dad is in. Welcome, Dad. Dad, of course. Oh, I have to say a big thank you to Dad. You may remember a couple of weeks ago, I said that my iPhone, I film on an iPhone 5S. All my videoing, not the live stuff, but my non-live video is filmed on an iPhone 5S because the camera is perfect for easy use and quick filming. I've tried other phones. I've tried Android phones, other ones. Samsungs, don't like them. The camera on the iPhone 5 is perfect. The camera on the iPhone 6 is gash, and on the 7 is gash, but the iPhone 5S, perfect. So it died. So I got a new one. I went onto the Amazons and I got a new one. I remembered that I had £80 of Amazon vouchers from some, I think, because I filled out a survey on Patreon as a creator on Patreon and they gave me £80. I'm like, okay, I can live with that. So I managed to get a new phone for 25 quid. But just as, like, literally the moment after I'd ordered it, Dad gave me a shout and said, hey, I've just found an old one in a drawer. So I've got two now. So I've got two. I've got one to film with and one for a backup. And if you're wondering why there's tissue on there, it's because that just protects. It's in the drawer at the minute. It just protects the lens from getting scuffed and scraped while I'm not using it. So we've got two. We've got a filmable and a backup. And I was really dreading getting this one because it only cost me 25 quid. But it's refurbished, and I don't care about the phone part. It's just for a camera, and the important thing for me was that the lens isn't scratched. Because if the lens is scratched, it's useless. And you know what? It's fine. Both of these are perfect. So, Dad, thank you very much. You're an absolute angel. So I've got two now. Yes. So I've got enough to keep me going now for the next many, many years. Dad, why is yours slightly... That one's kind of white and that they're the same colour. Whatever that one's, champagne, whatever it is. But yours is kind of faded. I don't know what that's all about. Oh, never mind. But yes, I've got two. So thank you. Big, massive, big, fat, sweaty thank yous to Dad. And man hugs and all that kind of stuff. I am now well kept in cameras. Let's have a look. Who else have we got in? William Rayborn is in. Good afternoon, Dad, he says. Phil Lewis is in. Did I get stuck in a lift? Must have been listening to music. Welcome, Phil. We have Mosric 9000 is in as well. Yes, hello. Who else have we got? Phil Lewis, Paul Di Tommaso. Paul Di Tommaso is just starting his 12-hour shift at the Candy Factory. I think he's actually doing a round at the minute. He says, as long as he stays quiet with no problems or incidents, then he's good to watch. Yes. Chris from Gross Models is in. Welcome, Chris. Don't forget, of course, that Chris is doing his Warhammer live stream at 8 PM tonight. So make sure after you've watched this, you go and have your tea, and then you go and watch Chris at Gross Models. Puldy Tomato says, I found another kit that I want to add to my collection, the Horton 229 Nazi Stealth Fighter Wing. Yes. Ask TK about his, depending on which kit it is, because TK made one that had 1 trillion parts, and it was a really beautiful kit. But it took him a long time because it was so complicated. Is it the one with the clear outer hull? Because if that's the one, it's the one that TK got. So make sure you hook up with TK for advice and tips. Tim Wilkinson is in. Welcome, Tim. Let's have a look. Wayne Haywood. Afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Wayne. The Print Guru is in. Sometimes technology works. Currently in a pub with a pint and some chips watching on my phone. Happy days. I hope your chips have gravy and also maybe some burger involved as well. And maybe some curry, because you can't just have chips. I hope they're not dry chips. You've got chips and gravy or chips and curry sauce. Let's have a look. George Gabriel is in. Welcome, George. Welcome. Just that U-boat, as soon as that's finished, mate, you know what my next project is. As soon as that U-boat's finished. As soon as it's finished. At the moment, what I'm doing is, because I'm desperate to catch up with the Warhammer Conquest, I need to get up to date with that so I can just rattle them off quickly. But I'm aware that while I'm cracking on with that, of course, I'm not doing the U-boat, and then I'm not doing George's thing. And so it's like I've got 2 things that need to be done instantly. And, so I don't know this week whether I should just crack on with some Warhammer Conquest and get a load out of the way. Because the thing with Warhammer Conquest, it takes a long time to film. Or whether I should just crack on with the U-boat this week and get that out of the way. Because I can probably have that U-boat finished by the end of the week. But I've still got like 15 or 16 issues of Warhammer Conquest. And the thing is, with the Warhammer Conquest, the longer I leave it, the more irrelevant it becomes, because I'm already about a month behind, and if I'm filming episode 20 3 months down the line, nobody cares because everybody's done it. So I'm like, I need to do Captain Calcium as well. So I don't know yet. Speedy Curator's in. Welcome, Speedy Curator, and Beck Stormer's in. Hey, Beck. Welcome. Who else do we have? We have Snowman HFC. Hi all, welcome, my friend. Fox, have you still got any bits of small submarine super glued to you? No, but yeah, I was using 2 different super glues when I was. If you've seen the latest episode, when I put the the antenna wire on there, I was using 2 super glues for the gluing purposes, because it's Easy Line, and Easy Line needs super glue. So I was using slow, which is thick, basically thick super glue, which takes 20-30 seconds to fully dry, and then some fast, super thin, water thin Instacure stuff. And it was literally like I would put a dot of Instacure, because what I did was I got my little decal scissors that I don't really use anymore. I got my little decal scissors, snip the top of the little tube for the Instacure off, snip, to get the glue out, put a little dot, put the scissors down, put the dot of the glue on the surface I was using as a little palette, got some tissue, wipe the tissue off the top of the super glue bottle to make sure it didn't clog up. The tissue was stuck to me. I got the tissue off my hand was sticking to itself. I managed to get that off, put the lid back on the super glue, put the super glue to one side, went to pick the scissors up, they were stuck to my cutting mat, so I picked them up and forced them up, then they were stuck to my hand, and then obviously I managed to get them apart because they were all sealed up. You can see there's still super glue on there. Managed to get them working again, put them down to one side, my fingers were sticking to each other again. I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is like one of them sketches with the bit of sticky tape and you can't get it off. Oh, it took me ages. So yeah, thin super glue is a nightmare. Use it at your peril. Oh, it's fun, but So I need to clear my throat. 1 second. So yeah, it was like some damn comedy routine. It was like, oh, will you stop? I was sticking myself to the cutting mat. I was sticking myself to the scissors, to the glue. Oh. So that's why in the video I was saying every time. The video, by the way, is up on. Oh, I forgot to mention that. The video for me doing the rigging, if you want to call it, the antenna wire on this is up on at the moment. It's up for patrons as a Patreon early access video. Just as a quick note for anybody who's watching who is a patron or is not a patron, I'm changing the way I do early access for eModels videos. For those of you who don't know, I'm sponsored by emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs, and I do videos for them. And traditionally, I put the video up, it'd be on their channel, and it'd be on my channel in early access for a week for patrons, and then it would go live on my channel. changing the way I do it. What happens from now on, with that one and from onwards, is that when I finish an eModels video, it goes up on my channel in early access for patrons only. Then after a week, it's released to everybody. And at that point, it also goes up on the eModels channel. Because I was aware that when I was doing the early access for eModels builds, patrons were getting to watch it a week early with no adverts, but they could also just go and watch it on eModels channel. So non-patrons were getting to see the same thing just with adverts. So it wasn't really giving the patrons any benefit. So from now on, it'll go up on my channel as a patron early access, nowhere else for a week, and then it will release everywhere else. So there you go. So patrons, you're getting a little bit there. Hope that's good for you. Let's have a look. Not caught up with the chat yet. It just jumped. Fox, I like the placement of the stripe. Put some Xeon symbols on the sides. My plan is to have, because you can never have, I can't get this in now. Where's my hole? My plan is, it's not quite straight, but it's kind of covered up by the turret, so I don't really mind. My plan is to have a little stripe on the side of the turret here and a Xeon symbol. I was going to put a Xeon symbol here, but it'd look a bit silly because you've got the Aquila there. And yes, there will be Xeon symbols on this and all bits and bobs all over it. So I'm going to have a little red stripe here. Not a red, white and black one, just a simple red stripe. Because if I have that stripe and a stripe there, it's going to look a bit weird. What I might do, I know I said earlier I don't want to mess up the green paint, but I might do like a red section here and a red section here. I'm thinking that now actually. Because if I'm just doing a single colour, and I mess up the edge, I can just extend it out a bit and I can keep going till I get it nice and straight. It doesn't matter, I don't have to touch the green in. So I might do a red stripe, or a red section here like that maybe. And a red patch here can be like the squadron marking it, but it'll have a little Xeon symbol maybe. And yes, there'll be Xeon stuff all over it. So, the print guru says, did you use masking tape for the stripe or was it freehand? Nope, just freehand. Just literally freehand. If you want to know how I did it, I painted the whole thing, because if you're wondering how you paint the white bits, I basically painted the whole, how did I do it? That's a good question actually. Yeah, I painted the whole stripe as red, so the whole thing was red from there to there. Get a pointy stick. So I painted all, that's the ridiculous pointy stick. Painted the whole thing from there to there, straight down red. Then I went in with some, I never know which one it is now. Hang on. Is it Celestra Grey or Ulthuan Grey? The base that you use for painting whites. It is Celestra Grey. I did the white stripe in Celestra Grey because that's a base colour and it blocks out the red. And then I went over the white stripe with Ulthuan Grey again, just to block it out a bit more. Then I painted in the black parts with Abaddon Black, obviously. And then what I did was a wash of Agrax Earthshade around here and around. I did the whole thing, cover the whole thing with Agrax Earthshade, and then brought back the whites and reds slowly towards the middles, just by having a tiny amount of paint on the brush and really sort of thinned into a glaze and building it up slowly around the middle. So it fades, and I used to use, I think, some white scar, very, very thin to a glaze here in the middle. So it goes from white to an off-white to sort of yellowy white. Same with the red. The red goes from dark to bright red and down to dark again. So I kind of varied it around, but it's all freehand. Straight lines aren't that hard because on normal flat surfaces, because what you can do is, for example, when I painted the white bit, I painted that white section there, and if it wasn't quite straight, I go back with the red. The trick that you never see people doing is that they paint a colour and then they paint another colour over it, like that. But if this edge isn't quite straight, like it's at not level, they'll paint this colour back again to straighten it out. And then if that's not quite right, they'll paint that bit back. And then they'll do this and they'll layer it until they've got the exact straight edge they want. You never see Duncan do that. And most, even hardcore professionals will do that. Whenever they paint something, if it's not, it won't be quite right. They won't just paint a nice crisp edge straight away. They'll fuss and futz and mess around with it to get it nice and crisp. So don't think for 1 minute that you should just be able to go and have a stripe. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Duncan's secrets all revealed. I wouldn't use masking tape for this though, because I never use masking tape when I'm brush painting. I would strongly recommend you don't ever do that, because it's ass. If you brush paint with masking tape, you just end up pushing paint onto masking tape and it just looks terrible. So don't even bother. Let's have a look. Scale Model Muse says, Wander's back in with coffee. Corned beef is cooking. Already smells good. Now I'm hungry. Thank you. I've got 2.5 hours to go yet and I'm starving already. Aidan Jones is in. Says, hello people. Welcome. James McCall. Welcome, James. I finally got a Sunday off and I'm able to catch a live stream. Sweet. How's everyone doing this fine St. Patrick's Day? Is it St. Patrick's Day? It is, isn't it? James McCall is in. I've just said that. I don't know why I did that. Alex, guys, any chance of you getting Gaia Notes materials in your Amazon shop? I can add them for you. Send me... I'll write it down, actually. I shall write it down. I've actually managed to find today a little post-it notes, which I've been looking for ages. Now I've just got to find a pen. Yay. Yeah, if you give me a second, I shall add Gaia Notes. Store Gaia Notes. If you wonder what that's about, if you look under the description of any of my more recent videos down here, I've got an Amazon store. And basically what I'd say is, what I do is I say, if you need to pick something up from Amazon, like model making stuff, before you go on Amazon and just buy it from anywhere, go and have a look at my store first. It's not going to cost you any more. And if you order through my store, I get a little tiny bit of income from that. So it helps support this channel. It doesn't cost you any more. It's UK only though. UK and Europe only. So that's the only downside. Yes, I shall add Gaia Notes after the show later on. George says, Sazabi! Phil Lewis is working on a couple of trees in the Triceratops diorama. Cool dinosaurs. Sadly in the south, it moved. Print Guru says something about. Sadly in the south they don't get curry sauce. It's all ketchup and mayonnaise here, so I have to go with malt vinegar. Can you not just get pub curry? Osric 9000 is eating a bag of Haribo Tang Fastic. Other sweets are available. Tang Fastic. I'm going to have to jump forward a bit because I've got to do something today. William Rayborn, lol. Anybody else come in? If I've missed you, I do apologise because I'm never going to catch up with chat at this rate. Let's have a look. That moment when chat jumps and Fox misses your comment. I've guessed I've missed a comment from you. If I do miss your comment, if you're asking me a question and I miss it, just post it again. If you need me to notice your comment, either put it in big fat capital letters so I have a chance of seeing it. Because don't forget, I'll be looking at this most of the time. Put it in big fat capital letters. Or, if you want to, do a super chat. A super chat, not only does it help you take some of Aviad's health down, it also makes a ping noise or a little noise. I can hear it. And it also pops up a little animated thing. So I have no chance of missing it. And it comes up as a coloured bar. So if you want to make sure I don't miss your comment, do a super chat. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, but feel free to repost it if I missed it. Had a laugh at the perfect timing. Alex Guy said something and retracted it. Don't forget, this stream is nothing at all to do with e-models. This is my stream for my channel. I can't swear because it's monetized and I'll lose my monetization, but it doesn't matter what you do in chat. So I'm not particularly prissy. If you want to use rude words and grown-up things in chat, feel free. Don't go too stupid, but you know, you can swear if you want to. Cy Reynolds says, in regards to subbing each other, it's true. I'll be posting my first video soonish. It's uploaded, just working on the confidence as it is. A cloak, wet blending, glazing, and soft shading tutorial. Cool. Make sure to subscribe. Like and subscribe to everybody's channel. Is Texas considered to be outside the UK? Yes. With the Amazon store, I can set up an Amazon store with American products, but I can't make any income off them. So if you set up your little Amazon store, your merchandising type store, it's purely for whatever country you're in. Unfortunately, there's no global option. LD is in as well. Afternoon, folks. It's party time, mean numbing time. Right, let's get some work done. Swig of coffee. No. Let's do some damn work, Fox. Hello, jerky grapes. Right, so what we shall do is I shall, first of all, I did notice I've got a few splattering marks where I've done dry brushing of lighter colours and got some spray, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be weathered anyway. I shall first of all do a stripy stripe here. It's going to be like just a red square, a red stripe, just so I can do some kind of either squad marking or just a Xeon symbol, something like that. So that's what we'll do first. Where is my wet palette? There is my wet palette. So yes, if you are looking to buy something on Amazon, have a look at my Amazon store first. The link is in the description below this video. It might not be below this stream, but it will be once it becomes a video. Go and have a look. I've got quite a lot of bits and bobs in there, but if there's anything that's not there that you're looking for, just give me a shout and say, hey Fox, can you add whatever to the store? It's no different to you buying it from anybody else. It just means that I can make a little bit of scratch off your purchases. A tiny, almost like a little bit of commission. So if you can, it helps me out massively. So I want the... What brushes do I want? I want the... I want the shade. Do I want the shade brush? No, not yet. Yeah, I want the shade brush, maybe. I want a... layer artifice, a layer and a regiment brush, and maybe also a layer brush. Oh, base brush, that might be useful. Basically, most of these brushes, I could have just got them all out and left them. Right. Yes, I'm gaining a new appreciation for the for this. Oh, come back. Hello. Blimey. I'm gaining a newfound appreciation for the Citadel layer brushes. I used to hate them. Now I've actually grown to quite like. Now I know how to look after brushes. I've grown to quite like them. So let's get some paint. So we're going to do a red stripe on the turretings. And for that, you know what colour we're going to use. You know exactly what colour I'm going to use. What is my favourite Citadel colour in the whole world? You know what colour. Mephiston red. Of course it is. My favourite colour in the whole world. I need to get some more, actually. Oh no, it's just a bit thick down the bottom. You would go like that once. We have to add a little bit of water to that to thin it out at some point, I think. It's getting a bit crispy in there. So, Mephiston red, says Dad. Dad likes his red. Si Reynolds says, GW brushes are okay. It depends what you're painting, what you're doing. Yeah, I know. I mean, they're all right. They're not, like, you know, groundbreaking, but for some reason I'm finding the little layer brushes and the artifice is quite handy for small details. I don't know why. Because up until this point, I've just used my regiment brushes. I don't know why suddenly I'm liking the... I don't know. Because I used to get them and they'd be just knackered within a week. I'd be like, oh, they're knackered already. But that's purely because I was an idiot and didn't know how to look after them. So, right. Brush receptacle. Right, a little bit of water, I think, on here. And then we shall get a little stripe going on. Now, this is, I didn't know this until recently, but Si Reynolds, who's in chat, Si Reynolds is a Golden Demon winner, he says. And I'm like, yeah, you paint better than me now. So every bit of advice I give you, Si, feel free to tell everybody that it's complete nonsense and give them better advice. Right, so there's no way to easily handle this, so I'm just going to have to... Oh, it's all gone wrong. So all I'm going to do is quite simply paint a red stripe. Now the best way to paint, if you're trying to paint a straight edge, first of all make sure your brush isn't all splayed out. If you are trying to paint a straight edge, the best way to do it is have the brush going down towards yourself, because it's just the easiest way to make sure you keep a reasonably straight line. Might not be perfectly straight to start with, but it just makes life a little easier for yourself. Because if you drag the brush sideways, it's a bit too thin, that, but that's fine. If you drag the brush sideways, you might have a wonky line by the end of the day. That's not quite straight, so I'm going to try and straighten that up a little bit. And what I'll try and do as well, I'm doing it the wrong way, but what I'll try and do, I will go sideways sometimes, when I just need to do a little bit of tidy up. But what I also like to do is use the thickness of the brush. Instead of just going with the end, I've said this before, I squashed the brush flat, and you use the width of the brush to make a straight edge. This is quite tricky because there's a grenade smoke thing there, so I'm going to have to go sideways. I don't really want to, but I can't get under there. But I can rest the thing on the table. I can put the brush there, and I can just drag it straight. Now you see there, it's a little bit wonky, and it's also... That one isn't quite vertical. That one's a bit leaning that way. That one's actually straight. So what I need to do is pad this one out a bit. So I can start from the top. The top's where I want it, but I can drag down and pull it that way a bit. Now keep in mind as well, whenever you paint onto a surface, you always deposit more paint where the brush comes off the surface. So just keep that in mind as well. Especially if you're thinning your paints down a bit, you don't want to get a nice straight line and then pull the brush to the end and you get a big blob of paint. Which is why I'm starting with a thin line here straight off, just to start with. And using the, not ridiculously thin, but quite thin. Because I don't want to build up a massive thick coat of paint here. And I could use a bigger brush for this, but there's no point using 2 brushes for one job. I'll come over with a bigger brush in a minute. This is just to get the base coat. So you see how I'm going down here? It's depositing the paint at the bottom where it comes off the edge of the plastic. So I need to keep an eye on that because I don't want a bulb of paint at the bottom. Nothing worse than a bulb on your bottom. Okay, so how is that looking straight-wise? That's looking... It looks weird at the minute because it's kind of shiny and transparent and there's gaps. But it kind of looks about straight. What I can do is put it here and see how it looks in situ. Yeah, this side looks a bit concave, I think. There's always a little bit of adjustment. Now, because of course, like I said, because I've done dry brushing and some post shading on the green, I can't touch the green. I can't put the green back to make the red go away. So this is an additive process. I can't subtract from it. So what I might do is go that way up. In fact, now I'm going to go sideways. I'm going to go sideways so I can judge. Try and judge. Still bowing in the middle. Can be quite tricky. Can take a while. Sometimes it's better just to go fast. Right, so that's looking a lot more straighter. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is, I can't do one on this side because even if I painted the red bit, there's nowhere to put a mark in. But I could put a red stripe here. So what I might have is maybe a squad marking here. Or here, because it's supposed to be on the outside, and a Xeon symbol on the other. So I'll do 2 red stripes. We'll do 2. Let's just get adventurous and do 2. Screw it, we're doing 2. I'm having 2 stripes. Now, when you're doing any kind of marking or freehanding, you want to find something to use as like a reference point. There isn't anything here really. Sometimes you'll do it between 2 rivets to make sure you've got a straight line, but there kind of isn't anything here. So start off with a gentle thin line. That's a bit wonky. A little bit wonky. Wonky donkey. That's not straight. There we go. And then one on the other side. Tiny touch of water. Do-ba-do-ba-do-ba-do-do. And again, it may not come out straight or perfectly straight or anything like that straight away. That's using the word straight 3 times in the same sentence. But don't panic, you can build up edges, you can straighten things up as you go along. I'm going to go sideways again. I just said not to do this, didn't I? There are times when it's advantageous to break the rules and go sideways. Okay, so that's looking well not straight. That's well off, that is. So not to panic, we'll just go in and we'll straighten that up this way. Can be hard to judge sometimes. Now if I say this was just flat green, I'd just go back with the green and straighten it up. But of course I can't because it's not flat green. It's got shading and pre-shading and I don't want to mess that up. So we'll fill this in. Again, I should use a bigger brush really, but hey, it doesn't matter. It's only the first coat getting paint on there. Doodly on camera. Oh, look, my hand's in the way all the time. Look at that. That's really nightmare. Apologies. Right, so that's on there. So I'm going to go up to the edge to darken it down a little bit. And take the beading away from the end. Right, so that's that side. This side can now have a second coat, so I'm going to stop using that layer brush. What's chat saying? Toilet tip, top tip for toilet break. Excuse me. Top tip for toilet breaks and YouTube streaming: do not use a wireless lavalier mic. Yes, I don't make that mistake. TK makes that mistake sometimes. Is that why it's called a lav mic? Asks Paul at Team Inept. Hey Paul. I need a stream boss button, says Aviad. It just starts playing the Imperial March. I have one of those Aviad remind me to show you on my stream, says Gross Models. I'll join you on the Warhamster tonight. The things I do to get views. What is a stream boss button? You mean something you can press over the... I get it. I think I know what you mean. Right, so what we can do now is a little bit of water. Tiny amount of water just to dampen the brush. Get the old Mephiston red. Mephiston red! Get a nice bit of colour on these now. Is that going to be in the way? Is my hand going to be blocking you out again? Now I can build up that colour. Now I'm not too fussed about going right to the edge, because if I stay a bit away from the edge, it's not a problem. Because that will just be like almost like a fade. So it's not just a flat red colour. I want some sort of dimension to it. I want it to be a little bit streaky perhaps, because I'm going to do weathering over the top. So if it's not bright red, but a little bit streaky, then it just makes it look a bit more worn and weathered without me making much effort. Now that isn't quite straight, so I'm going to risk it for a biscuit. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to get more paint on the brush. I can go sideways here because I'm not actually trying to get a straight line. I'm going close to the edge, but not right up to the edge. There we go. Now I need to tidy it up a little bit because that edge is not quite straight. Let me go back to the old layer brushings. Layer brushing, layer brushing. See, it's parallel. It's almost parallel with that corner there, but that's not quite going to be vertical. So let's pad that out a little bit. Sometimes what I will do, if I want to make a brush kind of go, if I start a brush here and I want to move it down and to the left a little bit, what I'll do is I'll just, instead of moving the physical brush, I'll just push it down further and make the brush splay out. And that's how you can adjust. If I've got an edge that's maybe a little bit wonky and I want to fill it in and adjust it as I go, instead of physically moving the brush, if it's a tiny amount, you can just splay the brush more and less, so it kind of goes like that as it goes down the piece, and you can control the edge then, and that's how you can get some nice straight edges. Oh my god, the stream boss returns, says Ty Reynolds. Yes. Don't forget, by the way, Aviad being the current stream boss with a health of 62,390. Don't forget, of course, like, you guys can take his health down with super chats and tip jar donations. And don't, oh, by the way, all the money raised through tip jar and super chat goes into the pot for the winner to buy their stuff. Yeah, although you can take his health down, don't forget, Aviad as the stream boss can also make his health go back up again by doing super chats and tips. You can really mess with your chi. I'm going to give this a blast with the hairdryer just very, very quickly to flash it off so I can do the next coat. La 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 la. There we go. Little bit of whiz and ziz and done. And we can do the next coat. Wow, that hairdryer for some reason smells like fresh air. I don't quite know how that works. So the next coat, same again. We're just going to go in, but I'm going to focus more in the middle this time. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and bright in the middle. And if I do a little few streaky marks, that's fine. It just looks like weathering. The reason I love Mephiston... Oh, hello. What have we got? What was that? See, Aviad Madar donated £10. My loyal stream subjects, I am returned. Hey, Aviad, thank you very much for that. Yes, as you can see, though, thank you very much, Aviad. Your master and stream boss has just put £10 in the pot for you. He just upped the stream. See, that's the thing with the stream boss. Every time you do a super chat and stuff, that money goes into the pot. And you might think, well, that just means you've got X amount then. The budget's always going to be the same. But the thing is, every time Aviad does that, he increases his health, but he also puts money in the pot. So by doing that, Aviad's increasing the amount that one of you might win. Or will win, eventually. Right, so that's there. And it's not the brightest in the world. And it's not 100% clean, but that's absolutely fine. And you know why? Because I want it to look a little bit weathered, because there's going to be chipping on top of that. And it looks a little bit streaky, so that's fine. That is hunky and indeed, as you say, dory. So, and we are going to do some a gunk wash on this, but not the way you think I'm going to do a gunk wash. So that's a red stripe on there. That will do very nicely. Now, shall we do? Let's do. Here's a question for the chat. I may put a stripe. 1 second, folks. Was that something at the door? Oh. I thought Mama Fox. I thought parcels had arrived. I want to put a stripe here. Not a stripy stripe, but just a sort of, let me zoom out so you can see. Doodle doodle doo, doodle doo 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 doo. Where's the zoom in control? Zoom in control. Right, I want to put maybe a different colour here on the front of the side thing track guard. What colour do we reckon? Or do we reckon no colour at all? I don't know. I'm actually, you know, thinking about it, I'm in two minds. I might just leave it green. I don't know. I don't know. If you have a strong opinion either way, like a little coloured section here, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what colour might work with the green. I was thinking red originally. But it just needs to be a solid colour, like we've just done on the turret. Just a solid colour, not like a stripe like that. Right. Apparently there are 600 people in the chat called James, so hello to all the Jameses and Jimmies and James and Jims. Impressive though that is. I bet none of them speak like James Stewart. Oh, James Stewart. So we have the red stripe on there. What else do we need to do? We have... I don't really need to paint anything else. I think a different colour, I don't think. All the metallics that need to be metallic are metallic. Gold bits are gold. That's nicely silvered. I'm not doing anything more on this silver parts of the dozer blade yet because it's going to be lots of chipping and weathering first. I don't think I need to put any other colours on here at the moment for now. That aren't just going to be changed with weathering anyway. So, I think we are ready for some chipping. For decals, sorry. I think we're ready for decals. I think. Decepticon purple, says Aviad. Keep them guessing. Xeon theme, remember. Xeon. What's a Xeon colour apart from red? There could be a special edition stream consisting of everyone called James, and that could make Q&A fun. Yeah. Hey James, hi James, hello James, James is in. Oh hi James, there's the other James, James is in, and don't forget James of course, who's also in, and of course James, don't forget James. Right, let me have a look at my colours here, and clear my throat. Let me have a look at what colours I've got. Well, coughing all over the place. Red, orange, greens, don't want greens. Question, does anyone know if we are going to get decals with the Warhammer Conquest, says Redline08. I don't know. The leaks that I saw, I did do a video that was like what's supposedly going to be in every issue. There have been now some word from Hachette in the UK saying that's actually slightly wrong, and there's some evidence to suggest they've changed some things around, or some of that was a bit off. But nowhere mentioned anywhere is decals. So I don't know. Now, if it's, to be perfectly honest, you're only going to get decals, I would assume, for the Ultramarines, for the Imperial Forces, because they have the markings on them. I don't think Death Guard have anything like that. So it's just Ultramarine markings, and to be honest, you can easily get those either off eBay, or you can get the sets from, I think, from Games Workshop directly anyway. They're not expensive, but you can get one on eBay. Because almost everything that comes with a Space Marine comes with Ultramarine markings. I've got millions of them. Excuse me. Got the burps today. Yeah, every time you buy like anything, it's got like 1 trillion Ultramarine markings. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I hope so, but they haven't mentioned it. Maybe it's going to be one of those things that only subscribers get, which will be annoying for non-subscribers. Right, I need to give that brush a proper clean because it's bright red now. What I also need to do is change my water. Well, and then again, am I going to paint any more red? Are we going to do some more red? Pineapple yellow, says Goes Lyle. I don't know. Do I want to actually paint a stripe on the front? I don't know. I don't know. You know when you like something the way it is? The Print Guru says they do that premium box thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they put transfers in that. Yeah, I've got the first one of those premium war gear. I think that's just game stuff. Because I've got the first one. It's like a game board and dice and stuff and card data sheet cards. I think it might just be that. I don't want to paint a stripe. Don't want to paint a stripe. Do I want to do a stripe? I can't decide. You know when your brain just doesn't want to decide for you. I'll leave it for now. If I do decide later on to do a stripe, I can add it and do chipping on top of it. I want to keep things reasonably simple, I think, when I'm playing vehicles on the table. Now, screw it. We'll do a stripe. Screw it. God, I'm so indecisive sometimes. And we shall do a stripe of the finest colour. Is there anything I need to do to send funds via Super Chat, says Paul Di Tommaso? No, just click the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat, dude. And it takes it from there. I think it can do card and stuff like that, or PayPal or whatever. But thank you very much if you do. You just hit the little dollar symbol right at the bottom of the chat. I don't know if you can see it on mine, but it's down there. And next to the smiley symbol. And that should do things. Aviad Madar says, which chapter decals is Redlen looking for? Ultra Smurf ones are super cheap on eBay. They are, because like literally every time you buy anything with Space Marines in it, it's got Ultra Smurf decals. It's got Ultramarine, because they're the default. And even when you buy Imperial Guard, they've got loads of decals. So, but yeah, let's just do a stripe. Should we just do Mephiston red? Should we do this for Dad? Let's give Dad a red stripe. How's that? Let me see. How's the red looking with the green? It looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, let's do a red stripe. Red stripe. Let's get some more paint. Mama Fox, was that parcels?
No.
Oh, okay.
A paper.
No, I don't care about newspapers.
The Manchester Weekly News.
Buh. Nah, I thought a parcel had arrived. I've got to tell you, like, the thing that Amazon now delivers parcels on a Sunday just blows my tiny dinosaur brain every time. Because at the moment I've got some things arriving because I've been a bit stupid. Not stupid, but for no reason whatsoever, because I started playing Halo again, because I'm an idiot. I suddenly decided that what would be really awesome, because I do like the Master Chief Collection and I'm really enjoying it, but the one thing I'm finding is that they've killed some of the audio, some of the environmental audio. It just doesn't sound as good, and I'm really missing the original audio sound effects for some environmental sounds. Right, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do rivet. I'm going to use this as a middle point. I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll talk about that in a minute. I've got to do the thinking now. What I'm going to do is I could make it easy and just do this panel line here. That would actually be the easiest thing to do. That would actually be the easiest thing to do. So what I can do is hit that there, so I know that's going to be the edge. I've just noticed actually there's lots of paint coming off the edges. Cool, it's just naturally chipping. Are we on camera? We're not on camera. We're on camera now. There we are. Yes, we're on. There we are. Yes, we're going to use this edge here because we're lazy. And the trick is, whenever you're building your army up, like I've said before, don't forget these aren't going to be museum quality jobs. These are going to be tabletop quality, because I'm going to play this army. So they're going to be at best tabletop. Maybe a little better than tabletop. So if you're trying to paint something quickly and you're wanting to do stripes and things, just find part of it that you can use as an edge. Now I'm going to cheat a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down here like that, and then I'm going to paint up to this bit here. It's not quite going to be straight then, but that's fine. Oh, hello. What was that? Paul Di Tommaso donated $5 Canadian. It actually specifies Canadian dollars. Super chat. Thank you very much, Paul. That is super, super kind of you. And that will have taken a little bit of Aviad's health back off. So thank you, thank you. Yes, so I'm painting here. So if you when you're making your army, if you like my very good friend Gray Hall... Oh, another one. What's that now? James McCall, £15 and £15 and 2 pence from James McCall. Thank you very much. Very specific. Fox, your videos and streams have helped me out a lot. Thank you. And I have to say it. Death to the false EMP. Oh, I'll get that right. Death to the false emperor. Thank you very much, James McCall and Paul Di Tommaso. You're both wonderful people. Thank you. You're very, very kind. If you remind me before the end of the show, I will actually give you a running total of the pot so far. So yes, when you're painting like stuff, if you're painting an army, and you know, you could be like my friend Gray, who just paints everything museum quality anyway, and I suspect Cy Reynolds is the same. Cy, tell him in chat, like if you're painting, if you had like an if you had a whole Imperial Guard army to paint, as a hardcore painter, would you paint them quick and fast? Or would you paint them like museum quality for every single piece? It's kind of anathema to me to think of painting them quick and fast, but at the same time, I know I kind of need to. So, yeah. I'm getting used to the idea that I don't have to make every single vehicle and object museum quality. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing for me to think about. But, yeah. I'm gonna keep the red bit in this here, above this little bit of the wheel structure. Ooh, Nick Butler. This donation sent in portrait mode. Thank you very much, Nick. But also curses if you're sending it in portrait mode. You heathen. You heathen. Thank you very much, Nick. You're very, very kind. Very, very kind of you. I think we've now cancelled out Aviad's little health boost earlier on. Bad man, isn't he? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it to this edge here. I think that's the same one, isn't it? Yeah, that's the same one. There's actually a lag between when it appears on the chat here on my iPad and when it appears on the telly box with the noises and sounds. Thank you to all of you so far. All right, let's have a look and see. So now we've got to think. We've painted this bit. Where do I want to paint red? I think what I might do is although I've just said about being fast, it's not going to be the fastest thing to do, but what I might do is just to make it interesting and not just a blanket red section. Not just blanket painting the front of my tank red. I'll do it with I'm going to use a little layer brush for the moment. I'll paint this area here, and I hope this is all on camera for you. I've made a few splooges, but that's fine, because a little touch of the green will be able to touch in everything nicely. It's just if I made a mess, I couldn't paint this whole section green again because of all the pre-shading. So I want to paint these bits with this layer brush just because they're delicate. Like me, delicate and easily broken. So there we go. I think you might get the idea now. And then on this bit we'll go up to here. So we'll paint this sticky out area here. This is why I love these Warhammer kits, because they're so much fun to paint. They're kind of just designed from the ground up to be utterly brush paintable. They really are. The nice chunky lines and the deep panel lines and things like that. It's just, you can't go wrong. Like painting this now, I can just whiz along like that dead fast, and I know it won't look like gash. Okay, so that's there. Do 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 do. So what I can do now, I need to get that little edge there under here. I can afford to go a bit thin here because it's just the initial coat. I hope it's not just my hand getting in the way of this all the time. So I can block that in, and then because the recess is so wonderfully deep, I can just get it in there, and eventually I can do a shade in there and hide all that. So that's the bit. So what I can do now is switch up to my base brush, and I can just blep this in. Ready? Blep. Now when you are brush painting, obviously, as you know, too thin coats and all that, don't just take paint straight from the pot. use a wet palette, add just the tiniest amount of water to your paint. You're not looking to thin it, you're just looking to make it flow better. But where you can, sometimes it's better to use long, slow movements of the brush. Don't stab with the brush. Sometimes you'll see me do both. I'll stab and sometimes I'll gently move the brush around. It depends on the bit you're painting and what angle you're at and things, but as much as you can, try and use slow, deliberate motions. That way you just get yourself a nice smooth surface of paint. And it looks less grainy and less lumpy. And don't assume you can do anything in one coat. There's no such thing as one coat of paint. That's nonsense and a bad idea. And last of all, avoid going over paint that isn't fully cured. So whenever you paint something like this, get the paint on there and then leave it a minute, let it dry, and then go over with the next coat. Don't try and paint over paint that is still wet, because all you do is pull the paint up and make a mess. So that looks, I'm quite happy with that. That's pretty cool. I've got to do another coat to get it red. Now, obviously, when I finish this, it's going to be bright red and everything else is weathered. That's not a problem, because we haven't done any actual weathering yet. We've just done some pre-shading on the green. So what I'll do the same thing on the red that I did on the green. I'll build up the red. I'll get a wash of Nuln Oil over it, then I'll build up the red. So what was a little quick job has now turned into probably most of this episode. Oh well. Right, I'm going to quickly have a look at the chat. What have we missed in chat? Hi, Fox's mom, says Osric 9000. Mr. G, welcome, Mr. G. He says hello all. You should be able to find a big A4 one for $10 or snag it cheaper on auction. Tons of those going around. That's for the Super Marine? No, Space Marines, the Ultramarines. There you go. Yeah, they're not expensive to get. Ultramarine decals, they're quite cheap. But I said I'd wait. I'd wait till we've... Because the thing I would say with the Warhammer Conquest, if you're just painting them like they are in the magazine, I think what you'll find is I have it on reasonable authority that they're only going to give you the paints that you kind of get in the absolute beginner starter sets. And they're only going to show you how to paint them like they do in those sets. Blue, gold, black, done. Maybe a shade. They'll do a bit of, recess shading and stuff. It's not going to be super, super quality. It's going to be a real basic paint job. So it might well be that you get them all done, you think, I want to redo that, or you want to add to it or do more shades or anything like that. So what I would say is don't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about the decals till you've got everything and painted everything. And we've got the last issue come out. Because what I'll be doing is, once everything is painted and the last issue's come out, then I'll go and do the decals. Because it might be that after I've got everything and painted it, and we know there's no more magazines to come and there's no more painting steps, I might want to strip them all and repaint them properly. All the ones I've painted follow the magazine, so you never know. Cy Reynolds, when I was saying about, sometimes you want to just paint fast rather than delicately. Cy Reynolds says, take it from me, painting every model museum quality takes time. I spend an average of 20 hours on a single marine if I'm painting to that standard. Yes. So don't think that every time you paint a Warhammer model, if you're going to play the game, if you're like Dad and you just want to make the model because you like the model, it's going to go in your cabinet, then do your best work. Spend 20 hours on a single Space Marine. If I was doing this, I wouldn't have even got this far by now if I was doing it properly. Although, well, maybe I would have done. But if you're going to play the game and have them on the tabletop, then keep in mind, even though it's going to be matte varnished, you're going to handle it, it's going to be dropped, people are going to pick it up and go, oh, that's brilliant. They're going to move it around, it's going to ping off other models, bits will snap off. And it's only ever going to be seen from 3 or 4 feet away. Nobody's going to hold it up to their eyes and take a close look. So when you're doing a tabletop army to play on the tabletop, you're allowed to kind of cut corners and do quick things. That's why you'll see people do, when they've got like a load of poxwalkers, instead of painting all the flesh carefully, they'll spray them Corax white and then they'll add some shades like Reikland Flesh Shade, a couple of coats of Reikland Flesh Shade and maybe some Druchii Violet to make them look like putrid flesh. And it's just 3 shades and that's done. There you go. Because sometimes on the tabletop from 3 or 4 feet away, that's absolutely fine. So for this one, this is probably more effort than most people will put into a tabletop model, to be honest. I'm taking my time with it. I don't know how many hours, but obviously I'm doing this show as well. But if this was just me painting it, if you've got an army and I've got like 100 dudes and like 10 of these and some knights and some sentinels and stuff, you haven't got time to spend a week painting everything. So don't be concerned that your paint job isn't the best thing in the world. if you're going to play it on the tabletop, sometimes it needs to be green, shade, highlight, done. And that's why the Games Workshop method of painting, although I don't personally like it, you know, base, shade, layer, edge, highlight, it doesn't do anything for me because it's not realistic. It can look nice, but it's designed to be fast, so you can very quickly take your army of Space Marines or Death Guard or whatever you want, you know, hordes of Tzeentch or, you know, whatever they are. You can get them on the table quickly and play them. But there's nothing wrong at all with spending a week on each figure and painting it to a beautiful display standard. But just keep in mind that they're going to get handled all the time. It's not really worth the effort. If you're going to put it in a cabinet or, you know, like Cyan to the Golden Demon or something, then yeah, spend a week painting it. If you're going to put it on the tabletop and it's going to get beaten up, just do a good job that looks good from 3 or 4 feet. That's why you have tabletop quality and display quality. Tabletop quality is, it looks great on a tabletop 3 or 4 feet away. You're allowed some quick processes and rough edges. Display quality is somebody's going to pick it up and look at it closely. That's the difference. What I call museum quality, it just means, you know, display quality. So don't stress too much. And that's why things like this is really good for beginners, because tabletop quality, I think, personally, if you're a little bit careful and you follow the rules, thin your paints, that 2 thin coats, all that kind of stuff, if you follow the guides, tabletop quality is achievable by most people. So go for it. Unless you're Grey Hall, in which case everything you paint is museum quality, so he's got an army of Space Marines that will just out-fabulous all of mine. When me and Grey eventually get to have a game, he'll out-fabulous me on the table, just ridiculously. I'll be like, shut up! Because Grey just paints everything museum quality. Let's have a look. Has anyone picked up the Shadow Spear box? Asked somebody, but then the chat jumps off. Didn't see who it was. Sorry. Yeah, James McCall. Has anyone picked up the Shadow Spear box set? Team Inept, what is a wet palette? Is that like the corner of a cutting mat? No, Paul. You know what a wet palette is. Paul likes to use his cutting mat as a palette because he's special. Let's have a look. Fire check time, says Paul Di Tommaso. Be right back. Okay. Go and check your fires. Nick Butler is tossing up if he should paint his other tiny Battlestar Galactica Viper or sort it with airbrush. Either will do. I think Aviad has a huge target on his back now. Yep, he's the stream boss. Let's have a look. Aviad says, anywhere I can check out your work. And Sarah Reynolds says, I don't really parade it, Aviad. I've got tons of pictures. Yes, sorry, I didn't mean to actually shout out that you're a very good painter. Oops. But yeah, he doesn't make a big thing of it. Very humble. Very humble is our side. I like people that are humble. Whenever you see an artist of any kind of creative art, this is what I've learned over the years. There's 2 kinds of creative artists. There are the creative artists. I'm just getting a little coffee out of my moustache. There's about a litre of coffee in there. There are the kind of artists that blare their stuff out and say, I am brilliant, I am awesome, blah, 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 blah. Ignore them. They're usually not very good and they're an arse. The best kind of artists are the ones that don't shout about the stuff and they just say, if you want to go and have a look, you see it. You know, they just kind of say, oh, I don't really show it, because that's how you know. You can usually tell if somebody's going to be good. They're going to be ones that don't shout about what they do. I kind of have to because I'm a YouTube channel, so I don't really have a choice, but yeah. But you know what I mean. People that shout and scream about their work say, oh, here you go, it's brilliant, I'm the best in the world. They're not. No artist. For somebody to, if the way to spot a real talented artist is that there's no such thing as an artist who has no problem with their work. If you're any kind of creative artist, it could be anything. It could be including things like, you know, building things, sculpting things, painting things, writing code. If you're a programmer, it could be any kind of art. You're never happy with what you do. If you sit down and you say, I have finished this model, it is perfect, there is nothing more I can do to it, I can think of no other thing to do, it will now go in the display cabinet. No, then you're not a talented artist, you're an idiot. Every artist worth their salt will go, well, yeah, I'm not happy with that, and I don't like that, and it's not as good as this other guys that I saw a minute ago, but you know what, I need to move on, I'll do the next one. No, there's no such thing as a real artist always hates their own work. It's the trick, and never shouts about it. David Butchland Model says, Paul, the wet palette is the part of your cutting mat that has the ring from when you lifted your mug or mug of coffee up. Yes. People are talking about subbing. Do remember, as I always say, a lot of the people that are in my chat are fellow YouTubers themselves, so whenever you see anybody in chat that you like, make sure to click on the little 3 buttons by the right of the comment, and it says go to the channel, go and have a look, see if it's somebody that makes videos. A lot of them do. Go and sub to everybody. Aviad Madar says, by ass you mean the Andy Warhol type? Yeah, those ass hats are fun. Yeah, I will always happily listen to a self-depreciating artist who says, well, man, you know, my stuff's not that great. It's not, if you compare it to this other guy, or it's not brilliant. I mean, it's only something I did quickly. I'll look at their stuff. If somebody says, look at my artwork, it's fantabulous, I'll be like, see ya. Because they're clearly a sociopath and an idiot. I wonder how long it will be before Games Workshop come out with a branded wet palette box. Probably never, Print Guru, because Duncan doesn't like them. Duncan said before, I tried using a wet palette once, can't do it. He can't do it. He just, I don't know how he can't do it. He also said he tried airbrushing once, he didn't like that either. Yeah. So look, just play Grey Knight, says Aviad Madar, and spray everything with liquid chrome, tabletop ready in 10 minutes. I did think about doing some Grey Knights, but I'd have to do it with C1 Metalizer. Although I haven't opened it yet. I did get the Artificer tint set. So if I wanted to, I could make myself some blue steel, some silvery blue colour. Oh, I spilt some water, never mind. I could do that blue silvery colour. I'm going to jump ahead in the chat, so if you've asked me a question and said something and I've missed it, just post it again for me if you would. Art like code is never really finished, just abandoned, says George Gabriel. Yep. I wonder how long it'll be. I've done that one. Underdog painting. You need to learn every day about painting. I've been painting for nearly 20 years. Yep. There's no such thing as, you know, everything. There's stuff I didn't know a week ago that I know now. You know, think of it this way. 2 years ago, I hadn't really brush painted because I'd used the wrong paints and the wrong brush. I've been trying to brush paint with Tamiya paints and it was ass. So I thought I couldn't brush paint. Then I got a Games Workshop kit and slowly I'm learning how to brush paint. I'm still only 2 years old. When it comes to brush painting, I'm only a 2-year-old. I'm only 2 years old. I don't know as much as Simon. If you look at some of, you know, Simon or a Grey Hall in the Boom Hut, some of their stuff, I'm like, wow, I never claimed to be the bestest brush painter in the world. I've only been doing it for 2 years, brush painting. But I'm always learning. A good artist is always learning something new and has a mind open to techniques they haven't thought about and a mind open to the idea that somebody else is better than them and they can learn from them. Simon Reynolds says, one of the most bizarre conversations I've had in life was with a chap called David Sope. It was in Bugman's bar at Warhammer World. Between us was the Slayer sword he'd just won. And all he could do was criticise his piece. It was really endearing. Yeah, that's the thing. Somebody who wins an award for their work and then is so humble that they say, I don't deserve that, your piece was better, then they are a true artist. They are a true artist in my book. And that's one of the reasons people often ask me why I don't put my stuff into competitions either. You know, this stuff for Warhammer competitions like the Golden Demon or my Gunpla for the GBWC or anything like that. 2 reasons. One, I don't think I'm good enough by any long shot. I'm not a professional. I always say I'm not a professional. But there's 2 possibilities. One, that if I won, I'd be quite happy. But at the same time, I don't think I'm the best in the world. And I think there'd be other people much better than me, more deserving. And I feel bad. And 2, again, I just don't think I'm good enough. And 3, well, 3, it's mostly, a lot of it's politics. I'm not into all that anyway. Right, chat is moving really fast. Doodle-doodle-doo. That's just because Fox has trouble with counting, Nick. They do spiddy, but the qualities are very different. It's intended to stabilise palette paper, no permeability in sight, says Cy Reynolds. Oh, if you mean the palette pad? Yeah, this thing, that's not a wet palette. This is just literally shiny paper. This is what Duncan uses. This is just literally shiny paper. It's no different to using plastic or, you know, what do you call it? A plate or a little bowl or something. It's just shiny paper. They're all right. I use these for doing glazes, as you can see. I don't really use them for paint because the paint dries out too fast. The advantage of a wet palette like mine is it keeps the paint hydrated. It's not about thinning the paint. It's about hydrating the paint. It keeps the paint hydrated and moist and workable for a lot longer. That red, I could put this in the fridge overnight and come back tomorrow, and that red would still be usable. That red paint, and it would be for days. So that's the advantage. Right, and that was the one thing I was going to do. If you give me a second. I've got to go, peeps. Have a good show. Catch you next time. Says Underdog Painting. Thank you very much for coming in, fella. Guess I can't post a link in chat. I was going to post a link to palette pad, says Paul. You can't, but any of the mods or me can. I can't do it because I'm busy being on telly. But if one of the mods... if one of the mods can, if you go into the description below this video, there should be a link to a wet palette. I think. Oh, palette pad. Wait, we're talking about. Yeah, there should be a link. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out in a minute. Right, now I was going to give you a running total for the stream boss. Let me have a look. Give me one moment, and I will tell you with all the words on my face. Right now, I've just got to log into PayPal. Doodle doo doodle doo. Ba ba ba. Good job I'm not doing this on my actual iPad. Right now at the moment, I can tell you, not including if any of you have done any tips or super chats by card, they won't have gone through yet. But right now, we are on £106.78. However, I know for a fact there is another 67 quid coming from card payments that I hadn't realised. When you do a super chat or when you do a tip with a card or a super chat with a card, it holds it. Streamlabs hold it until I say give me the money. And I didn't realise that, so there's about 70 quid sitting there for that last couple of weeks. That's due to go in. So you're looking at the moment about probably about 150, 160 quid is the balance so far. So just so you know, Anyway, that's that bit. Right, what we're doing? We were doing red, weren't we? So I need to do this side now. Question. Says Paul Davey. Candygram from Mongo is in. Welcome. Oh, Dad's put a link in for a Frisk wet palette. There you go. Good girl. Hi all, says Paul Davey. Question. Can you use a bigger scale tank, i.e. a 1/35th, and adapt to a Warhammer type vehicle? You absolutely can. I have found that I kind of go off the idea that Warhammer figures are they're not quite 1/35th because they're not normal human shaped, but they're sort of 1/35th. I made a 1/35th AML 90 armoured car, and I used Warhammer figures, and it looked fantastic. And you will find a lot of people who play Death Corps of Krieg, who maybe can't afford to go and buy 6 tanks off Forge World. What they will do is, apparently quite popular, are Panzer II and 4s. So 1/35th often to me, but 1/35th Panzer IIs, Panzer IVs are quite popular with Death Corps of Krieg. So yeah, you can. It depends on the vehicle. It needs to be something that doesn't really give away scale. The thing like a tank, like a World War II tank, doesn't really tell you how big it is. Like this armoured car I had, it didn't really suggest how big it was because there was nothing obvious on it that said how big it was. So it kind of fitted with the 1/35th, with a heroic scale Warhammer dude. Something like a vehicle where you can see inside and see the seats, yeah, it's not gonna work because they're not 1/35th. But something like a tank where there's nothing deliberately saying this is this scale, you can get away with it. So do it. The only thing when you play it on the table, now I don't understand this fully, but I think what you have to do is you have to agree with the other person that your Panzer IV, to me a 1/35th Panzer IV, is a substitute for whatever official Warhammer vehicle tank might be, whatever you're using. You might say this Panzer IV, this is actually a Death Corps of Krieg such and such tank, and you play those rules. It's just substituting a model basically. Apparently you can do that in open play. For competition play you wouldn't be able to do that, and for the other kind of play, if you're just playing in your local store or with your mates, yeah, you can. You just have to decide what vehicle it represents and use the rules for that vehicle. Right. And it looked fantastic. Pff, no proper artist would say that. Hi Fox, do you not do tooth and coats anymore? Have you found it to be unnecessary? Asks the Tomahawk Jam. No, I still do 2 thin coats. There's another coat to go on this one yet. Sometimes things are 3 thin coats. Sometimes it's 5 thin coats. Depends on the paint. But sometimes you can get away with 1 thin coat. If you want to get a slightly faded or not particularly coloured in, if you want to give the effect of faded paint, then yeah, one thin coat can work sometimes. I tend to go off the mantra of 2 thin coats is a good starting point, and for most situations that's all you need. But sometimes you need a bit more. And it's better to have 5 thin coats than 1 big fat coat that's too thick and lumpy and got brush marks everywhere. And especially for colours like this, like Mephiston Red, which has got such dense, bright pigment in it, that 2 thin coats can quite nicely cover a lot of stuff up. Now, if you're painting with, say, yellow or white, then you might need more than 2 thin coats, because yellows and whites are absolute pigs. They're quite transparent colours, no matter how thin you thick you paint them on. So it does depend on the colour, but just use 2 thin coats as a guide. It's not a hard and fast rule. I would say it's more like a bare minimum, as opposed to doing 1 thick coat. Just don't do 1 thick coat. You never want to do that. Okay, so I'll leave that to dry for a second. See, that's gone on there, and it's still a little bit patchy because I'm using thin coats, so I can just add another thin coat in a bit and just try and build up it. If I want a solid red colour, I can build it up that way. Cy Reynolds says, I think people will be shocked when they watch my glazing tutorial. 20 thin coats equals normal. Oh yeah, that's the other thing, glazes. Don't even get me started on glazes. I'm figuring out glazes as we go along, but glazes, hell, if you're doing a glaze can be 20, 30, 40 thin coats. Because that's the beauty of a glaze. A glaze is deliberately really, really dilute colour. So what you do with a glaze, and it's not just thinning it with water or anything like that. I mean, you can thin with water and make a glaze, but a glaze is ideally a medium of some sort with the pigment in it. So, for example, if I'm painting this, it's just like, I've thinned it with a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of water, and it's got moisture from the wet palette, so it's brushable. But the only reason that thinning is any use to me is because it helps the paint flow better and stops it being lumpy. However, it's thinned, it's not diluted. If you're doing a glaze, the paint is diluted, and it's a whole different scenario. The point of thinning a paint, an acrylic with water, for example, is to make it flow and self-level nicely. It's nothing to do with the colour. If you do a glaze, what you're saying in the glaze is you're diluting it. So you're keeping the same amount of pigment, but you're increasing the amount of everything else. So if you think of an acrylic paint, if you boil acrylic paint down to its simplest form, it's an acrylic binder, which is the fluid that the paint's made up of. And inside that acrylic binder is the pigment, the colour. Now, if you thin a paint with water, you're not increasing the amount of pigment, you're not increasing the amount of acrylic binder, so the colourless part of the paint. You're actually adding a third solvent, or you're literally adding a solvent to the mix, which is breaking down the acrylic binder. So it's making it behave differently. So you've got the same amount of pigment but more liquid, and the liquid is now behaving differently to the way it was when it started. If you dilute a paint to make a glaze with a medium is basically just the acrylic it's the acrylic binders. It's the paint without the pigment. So if you dilute your paint instead of thinning it and you use a glaze medium, what you're doing there is you are increasing the amount. You're not increasing the amount of pigment. Again, you're keeping the same amount of pigment, but you're increasing the amount of the rest of the paint. That's the clear bit. But you're not adding water, so you're not breaking down the paint, and you're not changing how it behaves. It still behaves the same because it's still the same paint. It's just got, relative to its actual, how much is in the pot, you're changing the ratio of pigment to liquid. You're adding more liquid and not more pigment. So it's still going to behave the same because it's still made of the same stuff. It's still just made of acrylic binders. But you're almost effectively reducing the amount of pigment in a way because you're increasing the amount of non-pigment. So that, by making a glaze, it behaves exactly the same as it would if you hadn't diluted it. Which is why, if when Duncan says about thinning paint sometimes with a medium, he says about it doesn't change the properties of the paint. That's what he means. When you dilute it with a medium, and you're not thinning it, you're diluting it, you are changing how it looks, but you're not changing how it behaves. You're making the paint more transparent. If you thin a paint, you're not really making it transparent, you're changing how it behaves. If you dilute a paint, you're making it more transparent. And when you do a glaze, it's literally that. It's like putting a glaze on a ceramic. You're applying a transparent colour. And the more if you build that colour up in layers, eventually it will be as opaque as the paint had been before you diluted it and made the glaze. But it's a way to build up the colour slowly as a glaze. You can, because it's so transparent, you can control how much goes on, and it's a brilliant way to do fades and colour blends. If you want to go from, say you paint something blue and you want to change one end of it to a green colour, but you want it to be a fade from one to the other, you do it in glazes. So you do like a layer of, you have your blue thing and you'd add a layer of blue over half of it. As a glaze, it will be almost imperceptible. Then you would do another layer of blue once that had dried, but you do it over a smaller area away from the middle. I will demonstrate a glaze at some point. I'll try and finagle one at some point. It's hard to explain. But and you just add layer after layer, and each time you do a layer, you get smaller and you cover a smaller and smaller area. Back towards, working towards the area that needs to be the other colour, and working away from the middle where the blend needs to be. And as you add each layer of glaze, of course, it becomes less and less transparent. And what you end up is, with me clearing my throat, what you end up is with, at one end, you have enough loads and loads of layers of glaze that are all layered on top of each other, and therefore basically not transparent, and you get the green colour. And as you moved, say this was blue, and I wanted, well, let's try this. Let's say this is green, and I wanted to make this red blend from here to the middle. So it starts red here, and it goes to green. I paint the whole thing green, then I will get a very dilute glaze of red, and I'd start maybe here, and I'd just do one layer. The next layer, I'd start here, and I'd do a layer. Same glaze. The next layer, I'd do here. The next one here, then here, and then here. It's a very simplified way of doing it. But basically what you have is, here you might have 10 or 15 or 20 layers of the red glaze, which basically just means it's red. Here you might have half as many because you've been getting smaller each time. So you'd have 10 layers of red paint, so it'd be a bit more transparent. And here, where you started, you just have one layer of red, and it would be almost imperceptible. And what you'd have is, you'd have 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 4 layer, 5. You'd have a fade. And the more layers you do, and the smaller the gaps, the more delicate the fade. Think of it like when you're playing a video game and you get colour striping, where you get, let's say it goes from black to white, and you get that striping of the different shades. It's the same principle. You'd have imperceptible red, 2 layers of red, a bit more obvious, 3 layers, 4 layers, 5. It's just a way of building it up. That's a very simplified way of explaining it. That's kind of how glazes work. There's obviously a million different variations and different things you can do. It's not quite that simple, but in layman's terms, that's kind of how it works. So I'll let that dry for a minute. I'll have a quick look at the chat. I think that makes sense. Si, tell me if I've gone wrong. I've got the sniffles there, I do apologise. What colour is the red, Fox? Asked Lord Barkley. It's my favourite colour in the whole world. It's Mephiston red. Mephiston red. It's my favourite Citadel paint because it's just like, it's made of not transparent anything. It's got really intense pigment to it. Aviad Madar says, you've got to check out the Creature Caster paints I've mentioned. I've been giving dirty looks to all my Citadel paints in my collection since I got those crazy high pigmentation. I will do it at some point. The difficulty at the moment is, and I get this quite a lot, people say to me, you should try out this paint or this product or whatever it might be. The problem is, especially with paints, I've got a billion Tamiya paints, I've got a huge collection of Citadel paints, and a reasonable collection of Vallejo paints, and some of the Ammo by MiG paints. And I'm more than happy to get more paints. The difficulty is, I've got nowhere to put them, and it's not a cheap thing to do. And it's kind of like, I've got so many paints, I need to use the paints I've got, because I can't afford to be buying all these different paints all the time. So I've got nowhere to put them. I really have got. I mean, most of my Citadel paints live in my project box, and then there's some on a shelf, and then all the others in tins and boxes. It's like a nightmare. So it's quite difficult, because I could get more paints, but I kind of don't need to, because I've got so many that I just need to use the ones I've got. It's like, oh, but I do love them so much. I will do it at some point though. And that's like when people say, you need to make this kit, or can you make this kit? It's like, well, I'd like to, but I've got a big stash I need to work my way through, because I've got, hundreds of quid's worth of stuff I need to build. I'm trying to, save money at the minute, so spending more on kits and stuff is not a great idea. I'm never going to build them. But also, I've got a schedule of things I need to build for other people, and it's like, oh, it's just getting more and more behind. So if people say, are you going to try this? And I say, not right now, don't be offended. It's just that it's finding either space in my schedule to do those things, or, I don't know what I took the lid off for, or space to put the things in the first place. I will do eventually. There's many, many more years of life left in me yet. The only thing you don't do tooth and coats is a grill on earth, says David Butcher, that model. You need to put that on with the... Yeah, shades. You are allowed to put shades on with like a hose pipe. You don't have to. There are different ways to use it, but when I do a shade, like when I did this, the base green colour, and then I shaded it with 2 coats of normal oil, that would slap it on. I got my big brush that I got like this bad boy, and it was like with the normal oil, because I needed the shade to be dark. They're one of the few things you can take from the pot. You can take shades from the pot. You can take dry paints from the pot. Everything else, you don't take. Or you can take lamy and medium from the pot. Everything else, you don't take from the pot. Candygram from Mongo is thanking Dad, because I think Dad's going to send him a device of some sort. My favourite Dad device, the one that gets the most use. Yeah, my little hangman's thing, which is actually a thing to put shades in. I've shown you this before, but it's just the best. There's your shade. There's the lid. There's the device function. Perfect. Dad is awesome. There you go. Dad, you're a genius. You're a goddamn genius. Good tips. I'm going to try this on some minis. I've always been awful at painting human skin, says Candygram from Mongo. Cool. Painting skin probably takes days of work. Glazes are perfect for it, says Sai. Yep. I think the best use for glaze I can think of is human skin. Skin has purples, greens, yellows and reds. Yes, that's true. I suck at painting people. So when I paint dudes, I paint tabletop skin. I paint basically, in this case, it's the standard Bugman's Glow, Reichland Flesh Shade, Cadian Flesh Tone, Kislev Flesh. Little high. I don't do shading that much in glazes because I'm not that skilled. As I said before, don't forget, I've only been doing this for a couple of years. So, figures still fill me with fear. So I stick to the basics. To that, I do kind of, tabletop quality. So, do you always glaze from light to dark when doing skin? Asks Aviad. And Sai says, I don't think so. Even orc skin, in my opinion, will have yellows, blues and purples. I always paint light to dark. Very contradictory. How Graham's Workshop teaches you to paint. It depends. If you're using glazes, you want to go from light to dark because it's harder to cover a dark colour with a light colour, especially when using a diluted down colour. If you're using nice thick paints like Mephiston Red, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing glazes, ideally you want to go from light to dark. But again, it depends on what you're painting. There may be times when you don't want to. It may be an effect that you want to achieve going dark to light. As with all things, just experiment. Try different things. I would say if you learn to paint figures especially, go and get on eBay and get a cheapest chips set of crappy minis that someone's painted, like a set of Space Marines or Imperial Guard or something, that they've done a crappy paint job on, they're selling them for a £5. Buy them, strip the paint off and just use them as test pics. Great fun. Great fun. Aviad Madar says, keep finding myself doing the same for the most part. Been playing around with oils and more wet blending, which is kind of frees you up, but still go back to sketch, highlight and glaze down. At the end of the day, ultimately there's no real true right or wrong, apart from obviously more coffee. There are no hard and fast rules as to you must do this or you must do that. However, there are just efficient ways of doing things. There are many different ways to paint, for example, skin or armour or anything like that. There's a million different ways of doing it. But you'll find that a lot of people do similar things because they're just kind of efficient and they make sense and they work. But there's no harm in going off and trying your own thing. There's also no harm in just totally doing what everybody else says, because at the end of the day, if you ask someone, how do you do this? And they say, I like to do this, this and this, then it works for them. Give it a try. It might work for you. It's obviously a system that works. So the Games Workshop way of doing it is one way of doing it. It's a quick way of painting your figures to a tabletop standard with limited skills and maximum outlay. But it's not the only way to paint stuff. Right, I shall do another... See you, Lyle. Somebody's off. Lyle Kennedy says, goodbye, humans. Okay, well, thanks for coming, Lyle Kennedy. Yes, Fox said to take every paint directly from the pot, says Candy Gwen from Ongo. Yes. Yes, basically what you do is you basically get your finger in the pot and you, like that, all over it. Paint with your finger, paint with your entire hand, club your hand into a fist and paint that way. In fact, your elbow. You paint on the elbow and do that. Tyrone Key says, that's why most, if not all, of my Space Marines have helmets. Funnily enough, so do mine. Like Captain Calcium, he's got his helmet on. He's not got a bare face. We'll get this, excuse me, got a tickly throat today. We'll get this coat of red going. Get the second coat on here. So yeah, there's a million different ways to paint. And don't forget, at the end of the day, every time there's like an established way of doing something, like, you know, the Games Workshop way, or the Mick Jimenez way of painting things, or whoever you like and follow and imitate. There's nothing wrong with doing that, by the way. But whoever you actually follow, there's no right or wrong. There's just ways that people have found to paint things that work for them. And they've all... I need to clear my throat again, one sec. Keep in mind that they've all discovered the way they like to paint. And they most likely, like everybody else, started off by just copying others. And that's how you start. You copy other people. If you see somebody painting something and they explain how they do it, then there's no harm in copying that, because they're demonstrating a technique that clearly works, because you can see the end result. It's clearly a technique that works. Now, it might be a technique that you find hard to do or time-consuming, but you may think to yourself, well, hang on. It clearly works, but what if I did this instead? That might be faster or better, or, you know, whatever. I might prefer these paints. That's how most people develop new techniques. They take something that's already established, they learn that way, and then once they get confident, they find their own way of doing things. So if you are starting out painting, then the first thing you want to do is just copy someone else's technique. At the end of the day, unless you're doing it for a living, you're doing this for fun, and it doesn't matter whether you use your own special technique or whether you use somebody else's technique and rip it off. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. All that matters is that you learn how to get your brush and use it, and you learn how to control paint, what the paint can do. You get experience with a particular brand of paint that you might prefer. All that kind of stuff. That's just experience, learning how to use the paint and what it does. And if that just means copying other people while you're starting out, then absolutely go and do that. That's what everybody else does. Absolutely everybody else does. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And it annoys me when you get people that are like, well, you have to paint something this, you have to do this, and you have to get this paint, and you have to use these paints, and you have to apply it this way, and if you don't do this particular method of painting it, then you're doing it wrong, and you're rubbish, and blah, blah, blah. Like me, it's, you know, I'm not that keen on the edge highlight style of painting that Games Workshop does. It doesn't really work for me, but I'm not saying it's wrong, and I would never say don't do it. Because for some people, that's absolutely that's the way they want to paint. That's the maximum skill level they've got, and it works brilliantly for them. They're quite happy, thank you very much. I'm not going to condemn that. I'm not going to say you can't do that. There's people that paint mostly in glazes. Again, nothing wrong with that at all. I would never say a painting method is incorrect or wrong, or that you're wrong to do it. It's just rude and ignorant. So really, there's no right or wrong. I mean, there are well, that's not correct. There's a naive way of thinking of that. There is a right and wrong, but it's a right and wrong in technique. The only rights and wrong in painting are things you don't want to do because they'll be bad, like, you know, not thinning your paint. But that's clearly wrong, because if you don't thin your paint, your model will look like a complete gash. Your paint will be lumpy and uneven, and it'll be horrible, and we'll all laugh at you. So there are rights and wrongs in specific techniques of applying paints, but there's no right and wrong as to what technique you use. As long as you use the technique correctly, you can how can I explain this? You can use a technique, you can do it, wow, words. You can incorrectly try a technique or do a technique, but you're not incorrect for trying the technique in the first place. Like, you know, dry brushing. There are people who say you shouldn't dry brush figures because it looks terrible. No, you can dry brush whatever the hell you want. Oh, hello, there was a thing. Back home now, roast chicken in the oven, says the Print Guru. Thank you very much for your super chat, the Print Guru. Very nice of you, very kind. And also now I really want roast chicken as well. God damn it! I haven't even asked the question about dinner yet. Don't even know what I'm having for tea tonight. Yeah, so it might be like, somebody might sit there and say, you should never dry brush a figure. I'd slap them into next week, because you can do what the hell you want. There's nothing wrong with dry brushing a figure. There's the way you shouldn't dry brush a figure, and there's the way you should dry brush a figure. But the actual act of dry brushing a figure is not wrong. So there are rights and wrongs in painting, but only rights and wrongs of a specific technique, not whether you use that technique or not in a certain situation. If that makes sense, if you know what I mean, if that kind of makes sense. Wayne Brown says, hi Fox, hi Rain. James McCall says, I find that Games Workshop teaches a very cartoony style of painting, which is great for some, but me personally, I do a more realistic style, like the miniatures could be seen in real life. I'm the same. I like the style a little bit. I mean, it's not for me. But like I said before, it's designed to be a quick way to get things painted up and on the tabletop, kind of for beginners. Whereas, you know, the way I do it is, I wouldn't say mine is a realistic style, but it's a semi-realistic style, because I'll be doing paint chipping and streaking and weathering on this as we go along. So mine's, say, a semi-realistic style, but it's not like sort of base layer and edge highlight. I'm going to clean my water out because it's bright red. Give me 1 second. So if you are just starting out, yeah, just copy other people first of all. Like, for example, if you are just starting out, then you know, watching. Ooh, who's that? I never find videos on what thinners to use for what paints. I often get a gooey mess. Any suggestions? Asks Alex Geis. Yeah, quite simple. It depends what you're thinning them for. If you're using, okay, there's 3 types of paints really. 4, let's say. There's. Let me get a piece of paper. Have I got a piece of paper? Let me find a piece of paper. I need to do the writing now. Here we go. Let's get the pen of writing. Okay, so we can break paints down into the following. You've got water-based, which is acrylic. You can't see that, can you? Oh, hello. Let me adjust the thingies. Hang on. Make some adjustments. There we go. So you've got water-based, which is acrylic. You've also got alcohol-based, which is sort of acrylic, but it's sort of solvent. So that's kind of in the middle. You've then got lacquer paints, which is solvent based. Tell you what, let's not do that. Let's do it with the big fat pen. Big fat pen for writing. Here we go. Right, so you've got water based paints. You've got solvent. And you've got let's say let's say it's spirit based. It's kind of a weird one, that one. So you've got water, solvent and spirits. So, water-based paints is acrylics, and that's anything like, it's basically anything that's labelled as acrylic. So, Games Workshop, Citadel paints, P3 paints, Army Painter paints, your Vallejo paints, Ammo by Mig paints, anything that's labelled as acrylic is water-based, except Tamiya. Tamiya are weird, but we'll get to that in a minute. And there's Tamiya. Tamiya paint down there. So you've got water-based paints, which are acrylics. You've got solvent-based paints. These are your lacquers. Which are things like the Mr. Colour range, not the Aquas Hobby Colour, but Mr. Colour range. Some of the Gunsei Sangyo paints. A lot of the Japanese paints are often lacquers. Paints you'll use for doing gunpla and things like that, or a lot of military stuff. If you're doing tabletop gaming, you don't tend to use any of these. Well, really, any of the solvent paints, but you can do. So lacquer-based paints. These are the ones that stink and will kill you if you breathe the fumes. Then you've got spirit-based paints. I don't know really what you class these as, but these are basically oils and enamels. Oils and enamels. And then you've got Tamiya, which are alcohol based. So they're labelled as acrylics, but they're not, because they're not water based, they're alcohol based. So what can you use for thinners? Well, dead simple. For thinners, for acrylics, if you want to thin the paint, you can use water, or if you want to dilute the paint, like I was saying before, to do glazes, you would use a medium, an acrylic medium, and you can get them. Games Workshop has Larmian medium. Vallejo have their own glaze medium. They're called glaze mediums. Sometimes they're acrylic mediums. Vallejo have them. Loads of other do. You can also go to an art store and buy like Winsor and Newton glaze medium. It's all the same stuff. It's just acrylic paint without any pigment. So you can thin them with water. You can dilute them in medium. But we'll come back to them in a minute. For lacquer paints, I mean, this is very massively a massive simplification, but for lacquer paints, you want to use lacquer thinners. If they can read that. For lacquer paints, you want lacquer thinners. These are solvents designed to thin lacquer paints. When you paint a real life car in a real body shop, you're using lacquer thinners and lacquer paints. You might occasionally use acrylics and so on, but water-based paint you can do, but you want to use lacquer paints and lacquer thinners. For oils and enamels, spirit-based paints, you want to use either, I'm going to write this in and fit it in. I want mineral spirits, or terpenoids. I can't think of the word. So, mineral spirits and terpenoids. Americans might refer to them as mineral spirits are things that are petroleum based. Well, let's start the way. Terpenoids are things that are based on turpentine, which comes from pine trees. So, turpentine and other sort of turpentine-like products, linseed oil, things like that. Lots of things are very similar. Mineral spirits are petroleum based thinners. And these work with oil paints and enamel paints, because oil paints and enamels are kind of based on the same basic thinners. The thinners always relate to what the paints are made of. So acrylic paints are acrylic binders with pigment, so you can use acrylic mediums or water. Solvents are lacquer solvents with pigments in them, so again you want to use lacquer thinners. Spirit-based paints, oils and enamels are those kind of solvents, terpenoids or mineral spirits with pigments and so on, and much more, including linseed oil and things like that. So you want to use the similar thinners. Tamiya are alcohol based, and their thinners are X20A, which is an alcohol based thinner. However, you can mix and match these. This is where it gets confusing. You can thin Tamiya with water if you want to, but it looks terrible if you're airbrushing it. It works, it's just not brilliant. You can thin water-based acrylics with X20A, with alcohol-based thinners. You can potentially thin them with lacquer thinners as well, but it will change how they behave. You can thin lacquers. Some people can do thin lacquers with alcohol-based thinners. Again, it won't behave the right way, but it will kind of work. And with oils and enamels, you can't really thin anything else with mineral spirits or terpenoids because they won't really work. They're not really compatible. So they're kind of a thing. Ultimately, you can try it. Some might work, but it's not ideal. But the golden rule really is, although there's a lot of mixing and matching, if you're ever not sure, if it's a water-based paint, use water-based thinners or medium. If you're using an alcohol-based paint like Tamiya, just stick to X20A. It's the best one. Or Ultimate Modelling Products airbrush thinners. They're kind of alcohol-based. Alcohol-based thinners will kind of work with most acrylics and lacquers as well. That's kind of a generalised one. It'll work with most. But it will change how acrylics work. So just keep that in mind. If you're brush painting, thin with water or use a medium. Don't use alcohol-based. If you are airbrushing, you can thin acrylics with alcohol. It's probably the best bet. You can thin acrylics with lacquer thinners. So again, airbrushing, lacquer thinners or alcohol. Brushing, water or medium. Tamiya, thin with alcohol or lacquer thinners. Again, they're cross-compatible. And oils and enamels, just stick to mineral spirits or terpenoids. When you buy oil paint thinners or enamel paint thinners, they're just mineral spirits or terpenoids. And that includes turpentine and white spirit and everything else, and odorless terpenoids. But odorless terpenoids don't smell. Who's that texting me now? In fact, where is it? Even my phone. Okay, a phone just went off. I don't know where my phone is. There it is. Oh, look, oh, yes. Well done, Mike Mountain. Oh, here we go. Dad's annoying me now by sending me texts in the middle of a live stream. Yes, very good, Colin and Dad. Oh, hello, what was that? I'm seeing Mephiston Red in Avian's near future, says James McCall. Wow, thank you very much, James. That's very, very kind of you. This money's going up. Look at Aviad's health. It's well going down as well. It's down 50,000 now. Mephiston Red and Avian's near future. Mephiston Red is a fantastic colour. So yeah, basically, if you're brushing, stick to the thinners. If you want to be really sure that you're using the right thinners, stick to the same brand. If you're using, say, Citadel paints, use water or their Lamian medium. If you're using, say, Ammo by Mig paints and you're airbrushing, stick to their thinners. If you want to be super safe or super cautious, just use the thinner that's made by the same people that make the paints. It's always recommended to use the thinner made by the same company. If you're using Ammo by Mig paints, use their thinners. If you're using Vallejo paints, use their thinners, because their thinners are properly designed to go with their paints and work the best. You can mix and match, like you could use Tamiya X20A with water-based acrylics if you're spraying. Sometimes, like with Citadel paints, you can't. There are no Citadel thinners, really. They don't do them anymore. So you would have to use something like X20A. So for airbrushing, your alcohol stuff is good for acrylics and lacquers, and you can mix and match. I hope that kind of explains it a bit. It was a bit kind of random because I couldn't have time to plan it, but yeah, it depends. For most of, like for this stuff, you're going to be using mostly acrylic paints anyway. So if you're brushing, stick to water or medium to make glazes or to thin it a little bit, just dilute it. If you're airbrushing, then yes, use X20A, alcohol-based or lacquer thinners. Just keep in mind with lacquer thinners, the one thing to keep in mind, lacquer thinners and lacquer paints, super, super toxic. If you're airbrushing these, you wear a respirator at all times and you have a spray booth. You do not do it without respirator, and you do not have a spray booth. You never ever spray these without adequate ventilation and a respirator. Not a mask, a respirator. They're very toxic. Also, lacquer thinners are very, very hot. Lacquer thinners will quite easily eat alive most plastics. If you were to douse this in lacquer thinners, like make a wash with lacquer thinners, if you were to do a wash and you made a wash of lacquer thinners and paint and you slopped it all over, first of all, it would strip all this paint off instantly. And also it would possibly damage the plastic and melt the plastic as well. So the only reason you want to ever use lacquer thinners really is to ideally only ever to use to thin down lacquer paints, or because they're thin anyway, you don't need it, or to thin down acrylics for airbrushing. The only time you ever need to thin these guys is going to be, you can stick to the oil paints manufacturer. It's going to do the same thing. If you're using, I'm confusing myself now. Yeah, you kind of get what I mean. If you're airbrushing, stick to X20A for either of those. For Tamiya, solvent paints and acrylics, use either lacquer thinners or X20A to airbrush. For enamels, use their own thinners. If you're brushing, water or medium, lacquer thinners, their own thinners, and alcohol. So there you go. If as an alternative to X20A, you can just use isopropyl alcohol as well. IPA, isopropanol, isopropyl alcohol is also the same thing as X20A, so you can use that with acrylics and lacquers as well. So there you go. It's cheaper to go to your local drugstore, pharmacist, and get a bottle of isopropyl alcohol. Also good for cleaning your airbrush out. I hope that helps. It was very rushed and very unplanned, so it might not have made any sense at all. Yes. Right, where are we up to? People looking about just dread. Cool. I stripped a guitar in 30 minutes using lacquer thinners. Yes, lacquer thinners are... The one thing you never ever want to do is use any kind of lacquer thinners on a Bandai kit, or any kind of thinners on a Bandai kit as a wash, because it will dissolve the plastic. But lacquer thinners would just dissolve everything. You'd have nothing left. Skipper Ted's paints undoubtedly smell faintly of juniper berries. Yes. Alcohol-based, or as we know it, Skipper Ted, says Team Inept. But if you're getting a gooey mess when you don't know, when you're mixing it, when you're thinning your paints, you're probably mixing a paint with a thinner that's nothing to do with that kind of paint. It depends what you, if you're trying to mix, say, Citadel paints with alcohol to brush, then yeah, it's not really going to work, because you're mixing, for airbrushing it's fine, for brushing, alcohol and acrylic mediums don't really, the alcohol will break down the acrylic mediums and then it's going to change how it works. So it's great for airbrushing, but that's what I'm saying. If you're airbrushing, you can use alcohol, but if you're brushing, stick to water or medium with the acrylics. Right, so that's the base coat of red on there. What I'm going to do now is it's coming up to 5 o'clock. Wow, we've gone on for a lot. I'll do a quick null oil wash, and then we'll do some stickies and things. It's gone fast today, hasn't it? It's gone very fast. Where's my dad device? We've had a good run today. We've had loads of little tips and super chats coming through. We've pumped up the balance for the potential winner quite nicely. Everybody's having fun. I'm having good fun today. Jolly good day. Right, so I need my shade brush. And for this, what we want to do is just on the red bit. Well, I need to put the brightness up again, don't I? Hang on. There we go. I'll zoom in a bit as well. Why not? So you can see the things. There we go. So on this, it's looking quite good now. It's not 100% flat red, as in it's not it's a little bit patchy in places. But that's fine. I'm not looking for showroom finish. It's going to be beaten weathered anyway. So what I want to do first of all is just go in with a null oil wash, and this is just on the red bit. Now you know what, if you've watched me do the other bits, the green bits, you know what we're going to do here. We're going to glop this in null oil, and then we're going to bring back the red with Mephiston red again. But this is just to get the shade in the corners and to darken it all down a goodly amount to start with. So we'll get that in there. As always with the shade, don't be afraid to just slap it all over, get it into all the recesses. Be generous with it, just don't let it pool up anywhere. So I'll make that, and I'll get it in that little vent hole there as well. It just does the job of making that darker. Okay, so get some of that off the tissue and just get a little bit up here because I don't want it to go too dark. These always remind me of a World War II Matilda tank. I love it. So that's that side. Well, now we have this side, yeah. I've got to tell you guys, you know what? I looked on my YouTube today and I saw I've done, I think, 47 of these now. We've almost had a year's worth of Warhammer Sundays. And I've got to tell you, when I first started doing these, it was really a nervous face. It was nervous times. I'm like, oh. I think the first one I ever did got like 5 views or something. I was like, oh, that's rubbish. I'm not going to do this again. But I've got to tell you, I look forward to this each and every week because not only am I having good fun painting times, it's not really a practical thing for me because, let's be honest, I get bugger all done for the most of it. But I love the fact that I'm just hanging out with you guys. And it's not just because I'm hanging out with you guys and I'm teaching you things and helping you out with questions and stuff. It's just nice to be able to sit here and do what I do, but be able to talk to you guys at the same time. It's like you're all sat at the bench with me, and it's the world's biggest model making bench because there's like hundreds of seats. Some of you are a bit stinky, but we'll let you off because hey, we're all nerds, and it's kind of comes in the territory. I'm just going to put some null oil on this red bit here. Again, just on the red bit. I'm not getting it everywhere else. Yeah, some of you could do with a shower, myself included. But you know, some of you could maybe not take all the food off the plate the moment it arrives, when you sat here at my bench in all the hundreds of seats. But it's just nice, and I really look forward to it every week because it's just nice. Especially when it's been a week, you know, the last few months where I've not been producing a lot of videos on a regular basis for a lot of different reasons. And I'm aware of this. I'm aware of this, and I'm working hard to sort of fix that now. But, you know, it's been a tough few months. But it just means it's that time of month where even if, it's like a week where even if I've not been able to make any video content, I can still come out and hang out with you guys and put something up for you to watch. You know what I mean. It's just really good. And, you know, producing video content is very, very hard work. You might think it's a dream job, and it is, but it's also a lot of hard work. It's a lot of sitting and editing non-stop. For a 45-minute show, that could be 4 days of filming and a day of editing for half-an-hour content, depending on what I'm working on. So it can get quite grueling, but this is nice because this is just sit down, turn the camera on, get a big cup of coffee, and just have fun and just hang out with you guys. There's no. Let's be honest. There's no production values here. Yeah, it's not quality entertainment. But I'm not getting any more text from Dad and. Oh well, there we go. Dad and Colin, your harassment via text message was rubbish. He gave up after 2 texts. I don't know. I like to text Dad when he's doing a show, and just like send him a text saying "ping," and it distracts him. Right, it's time for stickers. I'll pull the camera out in a second. I just want to point one other thing out today. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Before we do that, I made a terrible mistake. I was going to tell you, wasn't I? The other day, because I've started to play the Master Chief Collection. I've not played Halo for about 10 years. I used to love it. I used to play it religiously every day, for hours every day. And I've stopped playing it for a long time. When Xbox Live came out, we didn't play LAN parties anymore. We kind of stopped doing LAN parties at people's houses. We kind of stopped doing it, and I grew away from it. But I got the Master Chief Collection ages ago, and I've been playing through the Halo games, and I'm doing live streams of them. And it's rekindled that love for Halo. But like I was saying before, they've changed all the audio. Saber Interactive, they've kind of taken a lot of the audio out and re-recorded it, which is great because the guns sound nice. But some of the audio is not the same. The Banshee doesn't make a noise when you fly it. There's no sound when you stood next to a Pelican. Covenant computer terminals don't make that little twinkly noise anymore. There's a pillar on the Assault on the Control Room that used to make a whooshing noise. It doesn't. Little things like that spoil it for me. And what I decided was, I thought, I've still got my old Xbox. I'm going to get my old Xbox out. I'm going to play Halo with the proper old, from the old disc on the old console with the old sound effects. That was a bad move because what I realised was I've got the console, I've got the cables, some of the AV cables, but I've got no controller and I've got a telly that doesn't have many inputs. It's like, oh. So the last few days I've had this challenge of trying to find the relevant Samsung cables to put this ancient console into an HDMI only or grudgingly composite or component input without the special cables. For some dumbass reason, I kept everything from my Xbox except the controller. Why did I throw the controller away? It's like, oh, why did I do that? So I've got all the cables now. I'm ready to go. I can play. I've just got no controller because I'm an idiot and I threw the controller away. Because of course I threw the controller away because I'm an idiot. Oh, drives me nuts. My brain sometimes. So yeah, I've spent a week trying to buy cables and adapters and. So now basically, because different things came available at different points, I've basically ended up waiting for, I've got composite to HDMI adapter, I've got composite adapter that puts it into one single socket because on this Samsung TV for some dumbass reason, all the component inputs and composite inputs are combined into 2 single inputs that nobody else uses. I've got component to HDMI, I've got a component to single socket, I want to try and use the HD kit that comes with the Xbox so I can use the optical audio to get my surround sound. But the problem is with the UK Xboxes, in PAL Xboxes and PAL regions, Americans got 420p, 720p and 1080i resolutions. In PAL territories, we got 480i and that's your lot. So I've got a 4K TV. I'm going to have a 480i signal going through that, which is going to look terrible. So I'm going to have to soft mod it at some point to unlock NTSC option on the Xbox. I don't know why they did that. Why did Microsoft do that? It's there. You can tell the Xbox it's NTSC and it'll just switch over and you get all the resolutions. It's like, oh. So it's been a right rabbit hole this last week, getting little bits of cables and dongles and all kinds of nightmare nonsense. Oh. Yeah, don't. If you're going to resurrect an old console, just don't. Just trust me, don't do it. It's a lot more hassle than you think. Anyway, I wanted to tell you that because I got some cables turned up today, and I got this, which is the cutest thing ever. It's the little letter that comes with some of the cables. I just wanted to show you their little icon, their little logo, which I'll adjust the balance so you can see it. It's how cute is that? It's like it said, "Dear customer." It's just like the thing saying, "Thank you for buying our product." How cute is that? That is adorable. That is utterly adorable. He's like nomming on a little bit of bamboo, and he looks so happy that he's nomming. He's like, "Yes, I've got food. Yes, brilliant." I thought I'd show you that anyway. So yeah, if you do want to dig out your old consoles, just make sure you've not got a Samsung UE40 MU6120 television because they've got dumbass sockets on the back. It's like, oh really, Samsung? Can we not just have... Oh, I don't know. I went downstairs and Mum's TV, which is bigger than mine, you know, Mama Fox's TV that's bigger than mine and like cost half as much, has all the sockets in the world on the back, and mine's got 2. Oh, so annoying. Anyway, right. Reese is in. RJC Models. Hello, Fox. Hello, Fox. He says, "Welcome, Reese. Welcome, welcome. You're just in time for stickers. Are you Carl? In fact, where is Carl? Carl, we've got stickers. Where are you?" Beck Storm says, "I missed both the Halo live streams. Went back and watched them though. Good times." Yep, I've got Assault on the Control Room. It's going to be the next one. That's going to take me like a good 2 or 3 hours because I go slowly. That's the thing. The Banshee glitch on Assault on the Control Room doesn't work on the remastered version in the Master Chief Collection. Sadness, ultimate sadness. I don't have a shower at the moment because of the remodelling. How does he know? Says James Lorimer. I know all things. I'm sat at the bench, but you're getting even less than you done, Fox, says Dad. That's because you're like me, Dad. You're just sitting there having a chill out. James Lorimer says he streamed on Twitch for a bit, but this week I didn't stream nearly as much. Yeah, James Lorimer was getting into streaming, doing game streaming, so go and check him out. His stream. I'll start again. His channel name is Flyfart1. Go and check it out. Beck Storm. I used to play Halo Combat Evolved for years on PC too. I still have a modded version on my external hard drive. I just loved it. It was the first console I ever bought myself was an Xbox, original Xbox, and the first game I ever bought myself was Halo. And I played little bits of games before then, but never I was never into games. But I got Halo, and I was off work for 6 months. I was made redundant. I had a big payout. I went and treated myself to an Xbox, plugged it in the telly, got Halo. My life changed forever. I played it for 6 months non-stop. Every day I would get up, play Halo, go to bed. Literally, it was like and then I managed to get all my friends who none of them had any interest in games at all in any shape or form. I did a little thing in the same way that I've now converted half my friends into Games Workshop stuff from Warhammer. I went to the house, took the Xbox around to the house and said, "Listen, play this game for a bit. Let's do some co-op." And they're like, "Oh, I don't like video games. I can't play it." And within 6 weeks, they all had Xboxes and all had Halo. And we would go around to each other's house with like 5 Xbox consoles and 5 TVs and getting all the pizza and beer and having a LAN party. It was fantastic. It was great. Anyway, let's have a look. James says... Somebody said something. Hang on. Reese says, "Not doing any today, Dad. Lots of paperwork for his course today." Oh, he's not doing any work today. Any building. James Lorimer says he's doing his twitching and he made $100 one night. Wow, I'm in the wrong job. Well done, James. Clearly, I'm in the wrong job. See, I do have a Twitch channel and I have a Mixer channel. And we did start some Team and Net stuff on Twitch and Mixer, and I started doing streaming on Twitch and Mixer. But I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't understand how the hell it worked in terms of the chat and the bits and the donut. I didn't understand any of that. I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. And the quality was ass. I mean, the quality is not great on YouTube, but just everything came out looking like absolute garbage. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to use YouTube. YouTube's monetized. Screw it. Right. Buns. Buns. More buns. In fact, no, we're going to have to do 4, aren't we? Hang on. Hang on. Hang on. I have to do 1 more. Oh. the buns. There you go. It's got buns, buns, more buns, and all the buns. And handy tip: don't put that end of the Sharpie in your mouth. It's not good for you. Yeah. Right. So we've got 4. There are only 4 of mine this week because I've got nobody else's stickers now. I'm sold out. If you have been waiting for stickers or prizes, James. All the prizes that went out to Phil Kett got his new Gundam, and I was sending out some bits and bobs. They've gone out as well. Everybody's had those. All the people that are waiting for stickers, that won stickers in the giveaways from the last like 8 million weeks, they've all gone out. They went out last week. You should all have them by now, or they're all on the way to you. So anybody that was waiting for stickers, they're all done. There's no more mails in the inbox. Nothing sitting around. So we're starting afresh. Now what we're going to do is the typical sticker giveaway. I can turn them over now. They're all the same. It's a typical sticker giveaway. I'm going to ask you a question, and the first person to answer with the correct answer in chat gets a sticker, gets to choose a sticker. Now, 2 things to remember. As always, first of all, before we do anything, there'll be a lag between the video and the text by now. So before we do anything, you need to refresh your browser window and drag the slider across. So refresh and drag, refresh and drag. Drag the slider to the right hand side, and don't forget, of course, when you type an answer in the chat, that answer will appear on your chat instantly because it's gone from your computer to your computer. In reality, what you type then has to go all the way to YouTube and appear in the actual chat, which is what I see. So if you type your answer and you appear to be first in chat but you don't win, nothing's gone wrong. It's just that you're seeing chat with your answer first because you're there. I'm seeing the chat the way YouTube actually gets it. So I go for the first answer that YouTube gets correct, or that YouTube receives that's correct. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Dad says, Fox, I'll post more out to you and some Sprue Crew stickers. Oh yeah, Sprue Crew. Are you getting, Dad, are you getting new stickers with the new logo that I did for Colin, or are they ones with the old logo? Is he doing new ones? Or have you got to get rid of the old ones first? So I'm going to give you a second to refresh the browser. And don't forget, of course, if you want to get a guaranteed sticker, you can send me a question and answer to use in the giveaway section, in this section. You need to send me an email to this address here, fox@modelmakingguru.com. Somebody actually contacted me. I can't remember who it was now. I'm going to shame you. Can't remember who it was. I couldn't find your email address. So I've sent you a message through your website. It's on the screen. It's on the screen there, dude. Yeah, fox@modelmakingguru.com. You can send me an email with your name and your address, because I need to send you a sticker, and the question and the answer, Dave, that I can use for the giveaway, and you can send you a sticker. If you can do it anyway, you don't have to have a sticker. If you don't want a sticker, just say, I don't need a sticker. Or if you don't include your name and address, I'll assume you don't want a sticker and I won't send you one. So, let's crack on. I'm talking a lot today and very fast. I'm very tired. That's the problem. For some reason, my brain woke me up at 7:30 this morning and decided I was wide awake, and I've been up since then, and it's like, oh, I didn't get to bed till 2. God damn it. Right, so you've all refreshed by now. Oh, this is Print Guru says, it was me, lol. I was being particularly thick that day. Yes, I can't find your email address. What do you mean? That one there that's just on the screen all the time. Bless. Anyway, right, I need to stop talking a lot. Okay, so I think we've got some questions come through. Nope. There we go. No, we haven't. So I've got to make up some questions now. God damn it. Okay, so. Right, okay, first question. Doodle-doo. This is a nice and easy one for you. Earlier on, I mentioned that many paint manufacturers have their own mediums. You can go to an art shop and buy, Winsor & Newton glazed medium, and you can use that to dilute your paints rather than thin them. Can you tell me what the name is of Games Workshop's glaze medium? Go. The one that's the Games Workshop paint, the glaze medium. What is it? I'll refresh my chat window. Just make sure I get it right. I need the full name. I don't mind if you spell it a bit wrong, but I need the full name. Osric 9000 is the first one with it right. It says Lamian medium. Not spelt right, but it's close enough. So well done, Osric. You've won yourself yet another sticker. I knew Osric would have been one of them. I'll just write Osric 9000 on all 4 of these. Which one would you like? Buns, all the buns, or more buns? We're going to say it quietly until you decide. Labia Mermaid, says Paul at Team Inept. I'll send you a sticker as well, Paul. It's because you get one for that. Hermit Permit, says James Lorimore. Hermit permits. Dunkel Gelb, says George Gabriel. Speedy Curator says labia. I wonder if people actually do think that like labia mermaids. Oh, which reminds me, for anybody who's watching my Warhammer Conquest series, who hasn't been watching my content before now, and you're wondering why in the latest episode funny little words and names pop up in the top left-hand corner, it's because from our Warhammer stuff, I gave the paint stupid names, because Citadel's paint names are stupid anyway. So I gave them all even more stupid names to mimic when Duncan does a video and the colour pops up in the top corner. It's kind of a thing I did in all my other Games Workshop videos, but I didn't do when I started doing the Warhammer Conquest, because it might not be my regular viewers that are looking at it. I've started doing it again now, because why not? Osric says, all the buns, please. There you go, Osric. 9,000. You can have all the buns. Thank you very much. So that's one. Okay, so we have 3 left. Got to think of Team Inept says, yeah, I don't need a sticker, I have loads already. I was only saying it to for the benefit of people watching, but I wasn't actually going to send you one. Right, so next question, let's have a look. I've got to think of a question now. Okay, there's a Google one for you. Here's a Google one that some of you might know straight off. I'm going to pull this out of my ass, this one. Right, here we go. There is a famous, in history, there are many people who have remained unidentified. Who was that masked man? People who, their true identities have never been revealed, like the man in the iron mask, or the man who stood in front of the tanks at Tiananmen Square. People like that. There's no real names to them. There is someone who we only know their fake name. They hijacked a plane in America a good long time ago. Stole a lot, demanded a ransom, and then to escape, they opened the back of the plane, jumped out, and parachuted away, and were never found. They found some of the money, and they never found out who it was. It's a famous, famous hijack. What was the guy's name? Wow, George Gabriel's already in there before I even finished the question. D.B. Cooper. Well done, George. Wow, awesome. Did you actually guess that before I'd even finished the question? It looks like you did. But nice one, George. You're in there, D.B. Cooper. Paul says, I know this one. So which one would you like, George? That was fast. I thought there'd be some Googling there. Did I just go on for so long before I asked the question that everybody knew who it was? And if that is the case, how did you know? More buns. He wants more buns. There you go. And don't worry, I think I do have your address already. But, oh yeah, if you do win a sticker, even if I have your address for some weird dumbass reason, mail me anyway and say, hi, it's me, I won such and such a sticker. In this case, it's just a model making gear sticker, but just mail me to remember. I use my inbox as a reminder. If I see 35 emails for a sticker, I know I need to send 35 stickers out. So, I've got your address, George, but mail me anyway to say you won a sticker so I know to send you one. There's supposed to be a version of Mad Men where Donald Draper was D.B. Cooper. Yeah, go and look up D.B. Cooper. It's a fascinating story. They did find some money later on, like sequential bills, like rotting away, and bits of things, and they wondered if that was his. Nobody knows to this day if he survived the parachute jump, because he apparently took a parachute that might not have worked. I don't know. It was really weird. Hey, go find out. Go and read of it. Only one guy has a media epithet, really. As soon as you started about unknown people, I knew where you were going. Good God. Wow, that's weird. That's just spooky now. That's like quantum entanglement or some weird shit like that. That's weird. I don't know. Right, I've got to think of another question now. Okay, let's think of a question. Question. I've got to think of a question. Okay, here we go. I'm going to fact check this before I ask it though. 1 second. Okay. Halo. Right, Halo time. What is the first name? The print guru says, I sent you a question the other day. I don't think I've had it. Send it again if you want to. What is the first name? Halo, remember. This is a Google question if you don't know, James. What is the first name of Captain Keyes? Go. Foxx, I just sent you an email with a question for stream. Oh, cool. Let's have a look. Let me go find my emails. It's not the one. You're not the one from Samsung saying thanks for your inquiry. No, not that one then. There we go. We've got John, no. Les, no. Ken, no. Richard. Beckstorm says Jacob. Yes, well done, Beckstorm. It's Captain Jacob Keys. Well done. So, would you like buns or would you like buns? We're going to sit quietly and wait and all stare at you until you choose buns or buns. Is everybody staring at Beck? Oh yeah, my first sticker. But which one? Do you want buns or buns? You have to make a choice. Round and round and round they go. Which one are you going to get? I don't know. Oh, tough choice. Everybody stare at Beck until the choice is made. Buns. Good effort. There we go. Beck Storm. There you go. Well done. Wow, that's almost words that I wrote there. Almost, quite. Well done. Send me an email. Foxx, it's there. It's fox@modelmakingguru.com. It's just there. You can't miss it. Obviously, when you mail me to say you want a sticker, everybody, don't forget your name and address. You might be surprised I say that, but this is like, don't forget Dave sent me a question and answer without the actual answer ones. So, yeah, there you go. Well done, Beck. Nice one. I thought he said Captain Keith, says James Larimore. Right, so we've got one left, which of course is buns. And we have a question from James McCall. And you have included your name and address, so I will send you an sticker. So what I'll do, because I'll forget otherwise. My memory is so bad it gets to where if I don't write your name on a sticker, I don't know to send you a sticker. James McCall, there we go. James McCall. Good surname, McCall. It's a proper action hero name. Name is McCall. He was a cop. He was a cop. Right, so the question is from James McCall. He says, before, this is a Warhammer question, everybody ready? Before the Horus Heresy started, and I would remember, I don't check this for accuracy. Before the Horus Heresy started, who was the first legion to fall to chaos? Go. Who was before Horus Heresy? Before Horus did his nasty on his dad. Bad boy. And we have the right answer. James McCall says it's a proper Scottish name. I would have thought McCall with an O would have been proper Scottish. George Gabriel says Jeff, obviously. Mr. G says the word bearers. And Mr. G, you are correct with word bearers. So I shall give you this particular sticker here. Mr. G. I'm going to guess you want this one because it's the only one. Mr. G, well done. You've won yourself a sticky sticker. So all of you who've won, just send me an email with your name and your address and just say, hey, Fox, I won a sticker. Give it to me now, please. And there you go. And I'll get one sent out to you. Now, keep in mind, don't forget, you know it anyway, but for anybody new, I don't send them out straight away. It takes me weeks to get them out because I only go to the post office once every now and then. Because I don't live near the post office. Me and Ted will say on a Monday stream, we'll say we don't live near a post office. So I tend to go once every month, something like that. So if it takes a few weeks to get to the sticker to you, don't panic. I've not forgotten you. As long as you've mailed me, it's in my inbox, and I will at some point just go through them all and blam them all out in one go. I sent them out the other day, and there's about 6 weeks worth. So yeah, don't panic if they're not arrived in a few weeks. As long as you've mailed me, you won't be forgotten, and you've got your name written on a sticker on there, you won't be forgotten. Hey, let's have a look. I was really hoping for buns. Sorry. Next time, eh? It's the Irish spelling, though, which is weird, says James McCall. It's near right. If it's Irish, it's got to be Scottish. JS Idaho's in. Hey, JS Idaho. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What have we done today, JS? What have you missed? We've done that. And I've done that. And I've done that. And I've done that. And that's all I've done. I've done bugger all. Bugger all. Not done much today at all. It is 24 minutes past the 5. So what we shall do, to round off the day, because we've got about half an hour left. Well done to everybody who won a sticker. Thank you to everyone for taking part. Again, a little quick update for you. Wheel of Giveaways is still on hiatus, because I'm still skint as can be. Until such time as I am in a better position to stop paying shipping to send lots of prizes out. So it's still on hiatus. It will come back, I promise. It will come back at some point. For all of you who've sent me stuff to give away, it's all in a big box down in the corner. It's not gonna. I'm not selling them. I'm not making them for myself. They're staying there as prizes. I will do them I know some people have sent me prizes and they might be thinking, I sent him this expensive kit and he's not done anything with it yet. And I do know. It's not gone anywhere. It's not been sold. It's not been given away. Anything like that. I'm not going to play with it. They will get given away. It's just right now, like I've said before, it's very expensive to be sending out big model kits 2 or 3 times a month. So I'm still waiting for a time when I can actually feasibly afford to do that and give prizes away. I love giving prizes away. Sending the prizes is the expensive bit, and they're all really big now. The stuff I've got left is big kits that aren't cheap to send, especially when every time I do one, whoever wins it is like in Brazil or somewhere. It's like, oh, can't somebody just be in like Chiswick or somewhere? Every time I do a giveaway, it's always somebody in like South America or Australia, and it's like, oh, it's the most expensive place in the world. It always works that way. Right, I need to do some tissue rings because it isn't a time for the dry brushing. LD is watching Centurion's Power Extreme. The animation has not held up well. I don't even know what that is, I'll be honest. Anyway, we've got half an hour to go and I haven't yet asked you the most important question that we always ask. If you've not done it already, what have you either had for your tea, or your dinner, or what will you be having for your dinner later on? So what have you either had for your dinner, depending on where you are in the world? What are you planning for your dinner, or what have you actually had for your dinner? I need you to tell me in words so I can read it out. Because I'm starving. Because somebody mentioned food like a minute into the live stream and I've been starving. My stomach's rumbling. I don't know. Now, for those of you who've not seen this before, what we're going to do, this is what I did when I did the green. I started off with the green and then I darkened it down and then I brought it back with the dry brushings. We put the red on here, the Mephiston red. I've given it a coat of Null Oil to darken it down. And what we're going to do now is bring that back. So we're going to do some powder. Now this isn't weathering because we're not making it look dirty. I don't need to use my wet palette for this. We're not making it look dirty. This is, again, if you've seen it before, it's my way of doing post shading. What you would normally do pre-shading with an airbrush, but because we're brush painting it, it's post shading. And it's the way of just giving the colour some depth. It's not just flat. Now you could do a recess shade afterwards if you wanted to, that's absolutely fine, but I find a recess shade is a bit limited because everything looks clean apart from the recess area. So we're going to start off with the Mephiston red. We start off with the base colour that we put on there to start with. Let me zoom in. We start with the colour that we've already put the Null Oil over just to bring it back. Make sure there's not much on there, and then little circular movements. We concentrate. I'll move that out of the way. Get out of the way! We concentrate on the middle and centre of the panel. Now it'll be subtle here because it's red on what is pretty much red anyway. But it's going to help just make the middle bit brighter and bolder and get rid of some of the Null Oil. But just add a bit of variation. And again, this colour is going to be super, super subtle. It's not like the green was quite obvious. You could see where I put the Null Oil. I did do 2 coats of it on the green. This is going to be super, super subtle. Where's the camera? There it is. Okay, just checking you can see. And again, I'm going to go for the middle. And we're doing little circular motions. Because as I've explained before, doing dry brushing is always going to leave a bit of a texture or a sort of a gradient with the colour. But you can minimise that by doing little circular motions. It just helps pad out the colour and avoid any obvious brush strokes. Now I'm not doing the normal technique of doing backwards and forwards because I'm not trying to hit an edge. I'm not trying to do an edge highlight dry brush. I'm trying to get a shading highlight. I want to get rid of a lot of the dark areas and bring them back to being light red. One second. A bit more, I think. But like it's not as obvious with red as it would be, say, with green. And I have only done 1 coat of the Null Oil as well, which keeps it very subtle. And again, I'm not doing this as weathering. This isn't to make the red look worn or battered. This is purely just to get some variation, so it's not just a flat red colour. It's very important that you keep that in mind. I'm not weathering here. This isn't dirt and dust. That comes later. More red. Reminds me of an old Mac Lad song, beer and sex and chips and gravy. Get that down the pub. I've got some Mac Lad songs in my head. Yeah, I don't want to sing them out loud. Get up off the floor. It's time to sup some more. Yeah, I can't sing that out loud because I want to monetize this video. Yeah. Of course, you're free to do things in chat. Mac Lads, eh? So yeah, I'm just working in the middle of the panels. I'm staying away from things like the rivets. The rivets will kind of keep the shade anyway, and you would get a similar effect from doing a recess shade where you just carefully put the shade in the recesses, but you miss out on the sort of the slight variance in tone and colour. You miss out a great deal because if you do it the traditional way, you paint the whole thing Mephiston red solidly, so it's just flat Mephiston red. And then you do a recess shade in the recesses and around the grills. So it just looks like red, nice clean red with some shading around the edges. It's like, yeah, there's no life to it though. That's a bit dark. Hang on. Why is that so dark? I don't know. Don't quite know why you're so dark, but never mind. Yeah, this just gives you a bit of a variation because then it's patchy, it's not even. And it more naturally looks like, you know, in some parts the red paint's faded, some parts it's more bold, which doesn't really count as... Oh, that's wet in there for some reason. It's still got shade in there. Oh, my dry brush is wet now. Yeah, watch out for shade, stray shade in recesses. That may mess up your dry brushing process. Let me get a different brush. Diddly-dee-dee-dee. Diddly-dee-dee-dee. One other tip with the Mephiston red, by the way. Make sure when you've finished doing your painting that you really carefully get all the paint out, because Mephiston red is so intense it will take a lot of brush cleaning to get rid of it. Have I got another dry brush? I'm going to have to hair dry that one on. Oh no, there we go. That'll do. Yeah, Mephiston red, you have to really clean your brushes out. There's water on there as well, never mind. That'll dry off. Get up off the floor. It's time to sup some more. Oh God, I've got Mac Lads in my head now. Yeah, that's a bad thing, isn't it? Where's the camera? There it is. So we're just slowly building it up, and like I say, when I was doing green, if I did 2 coats of null null, this would be really obvious, but it's not. It's not 2 coats of null null; it's 1 coat. So it's dead subtle. You can just see a bit of shading, maybe. It might be. It doesn't look. In real life, it's not quite as dark as you can see it. It's a bit brighter. There's shade around these rivets, shade around this panel line here. There's shade around there, obviously in the recesses. It just gives it some nice variation. There's water on there for someone. Don't quite know why. I'm now painting my kitchen. I wish I could use an airbrush for it. It says Osric 9000. Wow. Yeah, that'd be good. More like a spray gun. Just use a roller. Now for this one, same again. We're just going to go in, make sure I'm on camera, go in and get some paint in the middle of these panels. Now one thing I will say as well that I picked up on while I've been doing this today and before anyway, there's one thing to be aware of with acrylic paints, water-based acrylic paints, like these Citadel ones or Ammo paints or Vallejo, whoever it is. There's one thing you need to know about, is that brush is far too big. That's one thing you need to know about. And that is that they are very feeble. And what I mean by that is they're not durable at all. Acrylic paints by default are not durable. They are very easily removed. I mean really easily removed. So if you're doing like this project where if you're doing a long painting project, I don't need that. I need to hair dry this. I'm going to put the hair dry on. Give me 1 second, guys. 1 second. Drying. Yes, if you're planning a long project where you're going to be painting for a lot of hours, like a vehicle like this, you can see me. I'm moving it around, and it's banging on the desk, and the edges are getting hit in the desk and stuff. Handling and that kind of impact with the desk will take paint off edges. You might not see it on camera, but around the edge of the tracks and things, there are bits where the paint's come off, and I can see like the primer underneath or the plastic. Now, depending on what you're doing, that can be a good or a bad thing. For me, I'm not too fussed because I'm going to be doing paint chipping anyway as part of the weathering, so it just adds more kind of texture and chipping effects to the paint. It just makes it more varied and more visually interesting. But it's actually really real chipping. It's not made up chipping. It's actually real chipping. Like, see if I can find a bit. Like all along this edge here, you can see where the paint's come off. When I painted this red on, there's a physical, you can see a physical sort of step where the green paint finishes and the grey plastic sticks out. I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with this bit of water that's all over the track. I'm fine with that because it just looks like real chipping. You know, there's nothing to say that that's plastic underneath is not just like whatever's underneath the paint in the first place. And once it's all been weathered and stuff, it'll all kind of blend together. So I'm quite happy with that. If you were making like a pristine model that was, say, you needed it to be clean and tidy and shiny, then that might be a cause of sadness. So just always remember, if you're making something weathered and battered and beaten, it doesn't really matter. But if you're trying to make something nice and clean and shiny, then it's in your interest to wear gloves and be gentle with your model. If I was trying to be careful with this, it was going to be like something shiny, like a sports car or something. I would have tissue down on the table or a towel that provided a soft surface for it, because it's impacting with the table as I put it up and pick it up and down. But I'd have something down. There's water on there. Oh, do you know? I'd have something down to act as a protective layer, not just a hard cutting mat. But if you are doing weathering, like I say, it can be a really brilliant effect. Right, so that's that bit done. Now for the next step. That was Mephiston Red. I will have a look at the chat in a moment when I've done these two dry brush layers, because I know I asked you a question. That was Mephiston's Reds. Mephiston's Reds. Next we have the Evil Sun's Scarlet. And we're going to do exactly the same. Tappity-pa, pa, pa, give it a shake, give it a shake, give it a shake. Same again, we're going to do some dry brushage. Dry brushing across the universe. Because I can't sing anymore, because that is copyright. I'm going to do exactly the same. Go for the middle of the panel. Are we on camera? But we're going to try and do a smaller area this time. Now this will be a bit more obvious because it's a brighter colour, but it'll still be subtle. Small circles, focusing in the middle of a panel. Just build it up ever so slowly. You're just going over the bit that's got the null oil on it, basically. Have that on camera? Almost. Just stick into the middle. There's no real features or areas of interest on these panels, so there's not really a lot I can do other than just make a sort of circular shape in the middle to get some kind of shading effect. But that's that come out nicely. It's a bit brighter in real life. It's not quite as dark as that. Keep in mind there will be a decal over that, like a marking of some sort. But if you want a better way illustration of how to do this, do go back. You can either go back a few episodes to where I did the green base coat, because that was just one of these live streams. Oh, that went wrong, didn't it? Yes, totally wrong. Far too much paint. Yeah, go back a few live streams when I started doing the green, because you'll see exactly how I did the green. Or there is a video in my how-to playlist. Remember, right, that's got water in there somewhere. Ugh. I'm going to hairdryer that. Let me hairdryer that really quickly because it's got water on it. Hang on. Go away, water. Evil water. Be gone, be gone, be gone. No, no, get out, get out. Murder, murder. Yeah, I must have got some water from the paint, from the brush cleaning thing in there, and it's gone into the track now, so I can't get it out. Yeah, all my videos are in playlists because I love you guys, and not having playlists is an evil sin. Yes, there's also a video in my how-to playlist, and it's how to do, I can't remember the exact title, but it's something like how to do pre-shading without an airbrush, or something like that, which is basically what we're doing. If this was a traditional model, you would prime it in, say, a grey colour or white. You would then do a pre-shade coat, which is like a dark grey or black colour to go around all the edges and corners with your airbrush. And then you would lightly spray the base colour over the top, leaving it thinner in areas where you want the pre-shade dark area to show through, and you get a shadowing effect. We're doing it the other way around. We're adding the darkness and then adding the lightness on top, because we haven't got an airbrush. We're not using an airbrush, so this is the other way of doing it. Now, of course, dry brushing it so you get a texture. It's not nice and smooth like an airbrush, but I don't care. Again, it's a tabletop model. And once you've got a coat of varnish over this, a matte varnish, and you've got weathering and stuff, nobody will know anyway. Nobody will know. Again, if you're making like a super detailed display quality, museum quality model of this to go in your cabinet or to enter into Golden Demon, then I would say you want to be doing airbrush shading. You want to be doing pre-shade coat and highlight coats with an airbrush to get the ultimate smoothness and blending. But if you're just doing it for yourself, you know, it's going to go on the tabletop, you're going to play it, get your dry brushes out. And I guarantee you that you'll have a nice varied paint scheme that will beat the pants. I'm going to catch that edge as well. While I've got the paint on the brush, I'll just catch these edges just to get a little bit back. I know it's an edge highlight, and we are going to do chipping later on, but I may as well while I'm here. It will beat the pants off anybody else who's got a tank on the table or anything similar on the table, because you can guarantee if they've just done the standard Games Workshop base edge, base highlight and edge and things like that, it won't look anywhere near as interesting as yours, which will have all kinds of shading. Oh, people are off. Who's going? Butch that model. Right, see you all later. Have to go and be a social person with friends from work. Okay, thanks for Dave. Thanks for coming in. Take care, dude. Bob Salty Balls Bobbington's in. Sup, peeps. Hey, dude. Just made the last 20 minutes or so. It bugs me on the Warhammer official vids when they put new paint on a palette over old paint of a different colour, says Zadster. Yeah, when he uses his palette pad. To his credit, it has dried out by that point. But yeah, it still is a bit annoying sometimes. Right, so there we go. That's it's a bit dark for some reason. I don't quite know why, but you can see similar to the green. We've now got the lighter patch in the middle and a darker patch around the edges and in the recesses and where the rivets and panel lines are. It's very subtle. It's a bit brighter in real life. It's not quite as dark. But it's just to give you an idea. So we're going to pop that back, zoom out again so you can see. There we go. Might see a bit better. I don't know. Trying to adjust the brightness and stuff. How is the quality of the stream, by the way? I've made some changes. How is the quality? Is it a bit grainy? Is it a bit crappy looking? Do let me know. We'll make some adjustments to the settings. Look, ooh, winter time, summertime. That's probably about right, I think. There we go. So yeah, so you see there anyway, the kind of shady effect. It's very subtle, and we are going to do chipping and other things on there later on, so don't worry too much. So that's that. I'll give this brush a good rinse. Looks okay to me, says Bob's. Nice one. What I'm trying to do is, and if you saw my Halo stream the other day, I'm doing things a bit differently. I'm doing, for video game streams, I'm going to do those at 720p. Because I'm using, at the moment, without a capture card or anything like that, what I'm doing is I'm using the Xbox app on the Xbox app on the PC. I'm streaming from the Xbox to the Xbox app, which is fine. It goes to the PC in glorious 1080p. But then what you do is when you then stream that out, it goes all pixely and horrible, and the Xbox app renders it really poorly. So when you watch one of my video game stream, every time I move fast and something goes all blocky and horrible, that's not the stream, it's actually the Xbox app itself. Because my streaming software, Streamlabs, is just literally capturing whatever the Xbox app is doing. So I can't fix that, other than buy myself a capture card. Which is very expensive and not something I'm going to do right now because I'm not a big game streamer. But what I'm trying to do is maybe do game streams at 720p because it's less work for my computer and less processing, and it might give a bit of quality increase. And then do this kind of thing. This stream is at 1080p because not a lot is changing on screen, mostly, and it can afford to do a bit higher quality. So hopefully anyway. Right. It does look a bit lower res and blocky than usual, says Zazda. Shouldn't do, because it's actually 1080p, which is really weird. But I've changed some of the settings, so it might be just a bit weird. It could just be YouTube as well, when it's doing this one, because it is 1080p now. Right, so we've got those red bits painted and those red bits painted there. I was going to hopefully start some decals today, but never mind. We'll start them next time. That'll give us a good 3 hours worth of decaling. I've got to paint those little scrolls under the aquila. I'll do that next. Well, I'll either do it off camera or next time because we've only got about 10 minutes now. What else we got to do? I think just that then. It's decals, I think, next time. You can see there where some of the paint's chipped off. I said about the paint coming off because you're handling it. It's banging on the table. Again, don't really care because they're going to be covered in weathering anyway, so that's fine. And when I do my paint chipping, I can actually, if you do get bits where paint's come off because you've handled it, don't panic. If you're doing paint chipping, you can just paint chips over the chips, if you know what I mean. They're real chips. You may as well use them. Yes, anyway, I'm quite pleased with that. It's come out quite nicely. So we'll have some markings on the red bits. I'm quite pleased. I'm glad you guys convinced me to do the red by not saying anything in chat at all. And I just decided it for myself. But I also have to say, when I said earlier on about the beauty of Warhammer kits being that, you know, the design for painting by hand, those kind of edges there to get this nice crisp red edge. A lot of other kits, you'd be struggling to get a nice crisp edge there. But because these are so beautifully moulded, you just get the brush and you go blah, 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 red. Perfect. Perfect. Right, let's have a quick look at chat before we call it a day. Right, because I asked you what you're having for your tea. We are having, let's have a look. I was really hoping for buns, said Mr. Oh, we've done that one ages ago. Right, we have liver and bacon in gravy, says Speedy QA. Oh, liver. I love liver. Liver and bacon in gravy. Oh, yeah. Chicken enchiladas from JS Idaho. Nice. James Lauren was having beer. That's a good, healthy diet. Wayne Hayward is also having roast chicken. The Print Guru is having, again, roast chicken with slow-cooked white beans and some spring greens. That sounds nice. I have no idea what white beans or spring greens are, but I need them. George Gabriel says something unhealthy, probably. You need to go to an expat store and buy like all the pot noodles in the world, George. Dad says faggots and mushy peas with boiled spuds. Oh yeah, brains faggots. Oh, I want them now. Tyrone Key is going to be having it. He says, I'd be having a big old roast dinner. Oh yes. Oh yes. James McCall is thinking pulled pork for dinner. Nice. Mr. G says, I've made some mince with my own for mix of spices. No clue to what to do with it. Either make a mega chili or some extra zesty bolognese. Yeah, I'd go for get like a massive pan and make all the tagliatelle. If I ever want to make a pasta dish, because the thing for me eating is I want all the food in the world to go into my face. It's not, I actually enjoy the process of eating. It's really weird, but I love the process of eating. So if I have a pasta meal, well, you can have pasta shells and the twirly things and bits and bobs and tubes and penne and they're all fine, but the best pasta by far has to be tagliatelle. Big long flat tapeworms. It's great because it's like, oh, it's like spaghetti but with more texture and more shape and it's fantastic. So get yourself some big fat thick tagliatelle and make yourself a nice tagliatelle with the bolognese and stuff. But don't go for bolognese. I actually quite like if you make a bolognese, but instead of bolognese sauce, use like a mushroom sauce. And imagine it's a chicken dinner, but make like beef or lamb mince. So you make it like a bolognese, apart from the sauce, and don't do a red sauce, do a white sauce, like mushroom and garlic. And it's really nice. It's a nice combination. It mixes nicely. Daniel House is making, and welcome Daniel, is making lasagna for his family. Nice. Beer and cigarettes for me tonight, says James. St. Patrick's Day in the US, says James. Wayne Hayward says, shout out for myself, I've successfully magnetised the weapons for my Legion ATRT. Yay! Magnetism is fun. JS Idaho says, faggots, Dad, is that slang for sausages? Faggots are, there's a company over here called Brains. There's companies actually called Brains. And they make various food products. And one of the things is faggots, which is, it's not a sausage and it's not quite a meatball, but it's kind of a flat meatball. It's like a meatball tube. It's hard to explain, but it's kind of like a flat meatball. Let's just say it's a kind of meatball and leave it at that. But yeah, they're called faggots. So it's made by a company called Brains. So it's like Brains faggots. I don't know if they are, but they're just like the most northern food you can get. It's something only the British could come up with. Let's have a look. Paul Di Tomas says, the same thing I have every weekend, a triple-decker PB&J sandwich. Oh, cheese strings, pepperetta, a pepperette even, Pringles and a Reese peanut butter cup. That's all the junk food in the world. We like that. Yes. Where are we? No, JS, it is a meatball really been around for many, many years here. Yes. I think they're called faggots because, see, in Old English, a faggot was, it was like a pack of kindling or rushes that you would wrap together, and they were used to pack out a fire. If I remember rightly, it was a thing that's like, it's like, you know, you get like, it's like a load of rushes and stuff. You wrap them in string and you jam them into the bottom of a load of wood, and then you light them, and that keeps the fire. It's like a thing to, kind of like that. I think that's what faggots were. I think it's because they look like those. Something. There's probably like some 13th century reason why they were called faggots. It had nothing to do with whatever the current meaning of the word is. And if YouTube doesn't like me saying the word faggots, then you can be sure as hell I'll be letting them know that they should remonetize this video. I missed the stickers. I had to help with the wife out of the bath. It says Snowman RFC. Not Tory dude. There'll be more. Don't worry. Candygram from Mongo. I'll be having homemade sushi rolls made from shrimp and canned tuna. Oh, that sounds fantastic. Oh, that sounds really. That sounds like cheap sushi done well. That's like do it yourself. Oh, that's great. That's like me making a pasta sauce lazily by just having like 3 cans of soup and some mushrooms, and there you go, bang, pasta sauce. I've done that before now. 3 cans of soup. Make one of them like out of a really thick soup or a Campbell's condensed soup. Onions, peppers, whatever meat you want, and other bits, and you've made a cheap pasta sauce. I'm now painting my kitchen. Oh, we've done that one. Boiling curry bolognese sauce will weather it nicely, says Osric 9000. That's Dave going off for his reasons. Oop, hang on, everything moved. Been okay, Fox, says Dad. Crispy, says Mr. G. It does look a bit lower. We've done that one. Looks good. I use Streamlabs also, says James. Yep, Streamlabs OBS is fantastic. Only showing up as 720p, says Adster. It may be because I changed it to 1080p, but I didn't restart the streaming thing, maybe, possibly. It could be that. I'll have to check it later. It might only be 720p because it's live. It might render at 1080p later. James Lorimer says, I've got webcam and mic on its way. Nice one. Tyrone says, stream all good, and one thing that really gets on my nerves in this hobby is when people say you have to have a fully painted army to play. No, you don't. I mean, I speak to my manager in my local Warhammer store, and he says, look, as long as it's primed, then I don't care. As long as it's got, it's not bare plastic, because bare plastic's a bit, you know, we have to make some effort. But it doesn't have to be fully painted. Even if you've just got a coat of primer on, it's fine. I do think bare plastic looks a bit pants if you're more than like, if you're not like, 10 years old. If you're an adult, you can get some paint on the figures, at least show some, pride. But you don't have to be fully painted. I think my local manager at the minute, his viewpoint is, if you could bring an army and it's the first time you played it and it's just prime, that's absolutely fine. He doesn't really mind. He said it'd be nice if like later on down the line it gets more and more painted, because then you've painted it up. And it is always nice to have a painted army on the table, but it's not going to stop someone playing. I mean, I personally don't care. If I'm playing someone and they're not even painted, I don't care. I've never played yet. I've got to have a game yet. Let's have a look. If you're going to play out Warhammer World or, like an official tournament, yeah, you then be properly painted. Yeah. Beckstorm is also having roast chicken. Dad says change the stream name to Roast Chicken Sunday. I may do that. Corned beef flavoured air. Yum, says Scale Model Muse. George Gabriel says made out of pig's heart. No, it's just the way I walk. Bobs says heart, liver, lungs and other crap. Yes. I think we're talking about faggots again. Never mind. We're on. It's 5:53. I'm going to have a swig of coffee. Swig of me coffee. Oh, a good show today. It's gone really fast. The thing is, when I actually do some work, I talk twice as fast and say half as much, but I get more done. And it does go fast. I do consciously try not to talk at top speed. It's really, really hard because I'm having fun and I'm excited. And I get carried away and it all goes a bit wrong. Yeah. I'm going to put something underneath it so you can see it properly. There you go. Bit of a better angle, maybe. A better angle? No. Clunk. Never mind. Never mind. It was a good idea. The starter box full game. Oh, hang on. Wait, start. Everything just jumped. Mukbang is what it's called when you stream yourself eating. Okay. Scale Model Muse. The starter box full game has 2 different coloured plastics so that you can assemble and play right away. Says, oh yeah, some of the starter boxes do. That's just because they are aiming at the much younger builder. Like the Warhammer Conquest is green and blue. They do that just so that some like really young builders can just get it assembled and play, because they're just designed for home play. But if you're going to a Games Workshop store, it's kind of polite to at least have a primer on there, I think. But yeah, if you're going to a Games Workshop store and you're not like 9 years old, then you probably want to have at least a primer on there. But yeah, they are trying to appeal to the younger gamer and the younger player now with those starter kits, which is why it's good that they're all colour plastic. Right, I think that's going to do us eventually. I think we'll be finishing in a minute. Don't forget, as always, like we said earlier on, if you are... I'll start that again. Shall I just start again? Thank you everybody for watching. As always, this show is very kindly brought to you by my lovely and adorable patrons who make all this possible. So I do want to thank all my patrons for helping finance me and keep me in this job so I can do this for you each week. I do want to thank you. If you'd like to support this channel, of course, you're more than welcome to. You can do it on patreon.com/modelmakingguru. All help is graciously accepted. Or if you prefer, if you're not able to do that, you can if you want to. Just make sure when you watch one of our videos, you let the advert go all the way through. For 30 seconds of your life. It's not the end of the world, and it does help me out massively if you watch the advert. And don't forget, of course, if you are going to go and pick up some stuff off Amazon, modelling products, before you go to Amazon and buy it, have a look under any of my videos, like under this one. I do have an Amazon store, and there's lots of links to products in the bottom of the description. There's much more in the store than there is down below on this video. Go and have a look at the links in there. Go to my Amazon store and see if the item's on there. If you order it through there, it doesn't cost you any more, but I get a little bit of commission if you order it through that link. So do have a look at that. I will go and add some Gaia Notes paints in a little bit for whoever it was that asked that. I can't remember now. I'll go and add Gaia Notes to you in a bit. And if there's anything in there that if you want to get from Amazon but is not in my store and you want to get it, remember it's UK and Europe only, but if you anything there that you want to pick up and it's not in my store, drop me a note and just let me know, hey, can you put me in my store? And I'll add it to the store and you can order it that way. But other than that, just, like and subscribe as always. I'll get the little scrolls on the side painted when we go off air a bit later on. This week, I'll see if I might either catch up with some Warhammer Conquest, in which case they'll be going up over the next few days, or I may crack on with the U-boat to get that done. And the faster I get that U-boat done and out of the way, I can crack on with George's Sazabi. So we'll get that done. The Sazabi, by the way, I'm going to do a live stream for the denubbing and cleanup. That'll be a live stream show for everybody. But for the actual build videos, that will be a Patreon exclusive build. So non-patrons will get like a little sort of 5 or 10 minute video diary. Patrons will get the full build video for that one. So you might want to have a think about that, because it's going to be a good series. It's going to be a good series, that. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be nice to paint that. But is there anything else before we go? We've got 5 minutes. Anything else I need to do before you need to remind me of before I go? I can't remember. Don't forget, of course, Gross Models. Chris at Gross Models tonight, 8 PM on his channel. He does his Warhammer stream. I'm not always able to join it because it's usually when I have my tea. So I'm not always able to join in the chat, but I'll try to. But if I don't see you there, I'll see you on Monday, because Monday is the E-Models live stream as well. Don't forget, me, Ted and Chris. And do stay tuned this week for more content. I'll see if I can get another Halo stream done. We've got Assault on the Control Room to play through. And I will try and get some more video content out. And just a note to everybody, I am actually working really hard to get back into doing regular video content. So the last few months have been a real nightmare for me for a lot of different reasons I don't go into publicly, but a lot of things going on. I haven't been able to produce a lot of video content. And, some people have mentioned it. Some people have not been happy with that. And I understand that. That's absolutely fine. But yes, so I'm working quite hard now to get more regular video content. Once I can get back into a routine of having one kit and not 55 different things on the go that I can't film, then we'll be back to normal. Anyway, James McCall says, hopefully I can catch next week's stream, as this has been a great time. Thank you very much, James. I don't normally talk this fast. I'm just a bit excited today, because I'm getting excited for this, because it's starting to look alright. I'm getting excited for my old Xbox that I'll have the controller for in the next few days. I'm going to play Halo in a bit after my dinner. Well, no. I might. No, I've got to watch. Once I've watched Chris's stream, I've got to watch Chris's stream if I'm having my dinner. But yeah, play Halo later on, and everything's exciting and brilliant. And I've got all the phones Dad and Amazon sent me. Again, I can't thank Dad enough for his replacement phone. So I've got two cameras now. So my camera died. I've now got 2 cameras. Nothing can go wrong. I've got years and years of filming out of these now. So I'm going to be sweet. Anything else? No, that's all I can think of. I shall stop talking at full speed and leave you to it. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Remember, if you want a sticker, send me an email, fox@modelmakingguru.com. If you want to send me a question and answer for next week, then if I use your question and answer, I will send you a sticker if I read it out. There was something else I was going to ask you about, and I can't remember what it was before we go. Can't remember. Anyway, that's going to do us. I shall say thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. And until next time, adios, amoebas. I don't know what that was. Something went weird there. That was weird, wasn't it? The music just stopped. Let's try that again. Let's try it the other way around. Hang on. Back in a moment. Oh, bye.